This story tells about a world that has undergone very serious changes. Now in this world, there are huge monsters that can send you to that world at any moment. The main character of our story is a boy named John, and now he is in mortal danger. He had to get a weapon and show real courage to stay alive. All this happened very quickly, but with the help of his bravery, he was able to kill the monster. In this world, it should not be surprising. Battles with monsters have become something common. John works as a cleaner. He has to pick up monsters after they are killed. He was reminded that he should not fight monsters and asked to do his job. After the abyss opened, everything around changed because a huge number of monsters live in this dimension. After the opening of the abyss, extraordinary power was awakened in people, with the help of which humanity began to destroy monsters and conquer the abyss. Because of all this, people are now judged not by their human qualities, but by their rank of awakening. If you have a high rank, then a good life is guaranteed to you. John is unlucky enough to get a high rank. He is a simple scavenger who wears the things of the awakened. He has not been able to awaken his superpowers, so until he does, he will remain second class. John is 35 years old. He found something and called the awakened ones for help, but no one answered him. Looking around, he realized that he was the very last one left. In just a few seconds, he felt the approach of something huge and terrible behind him. Looking more closely, John saw a legendary monster of the highest rank. He is called Asmodeus. The boy immediately began to panic and scream out of fear. Except for a knife, he has no weapon. With the help of his power, Asmodeus very quickly disarmed the boy and made him suffer in pain. After that, strange things began to happen. Instead of ripping off the boy's head, the monster directed the force of its energy at him. John looked at him and could not understand what kind of death it was. Why he was dying in such a way is not clear. The boy's parents died a long time ago in a car accident. After that, John had a difficult childhood. He was constantly insulted at school. The rest of his life, everyone ignored him. He is not awakened, and such people are called second class. At first, John thought that he would die now, but then he began to guess that the monster did not want to kill him. All conditions for awakening were met. The boy's internal energy increased tenfold. Soon he saw a golden staircase and a snow-white deity in front of him. He looked back and realized that Asmodeus stopped. The monster refused to kill John. This tall white creature started talking to the boy. It must have all happened because of him. This white man is called a king, but it doesn't matter now because he has come to give John power. The boy looked at him and could not understand anything. It seemed as if it was all just a dream. The king asked to believe his words. He recognized John's persistence and desire and decided to choose him. The guy still couldn't understand anything. He doesn't even know what opportunities are open to him. The king assured that later, John would understand why all this happened, then they would meet again. John lost consciousness, and only after a while he opened his eyes and saw familiar faces in front of him. As soon as he tried to stand up, he was immediately hit hard in the face. The boy in the middle is named James. He is a high school bully who constantly bullied John. It is still not clear how James ended up here. Was everything that happened just a dream? Only a little later, John realized that this was really a reality, and the most interesting thing was that he returned 16 years ago. Now he is a young high school student again. He is 19 years old, and his rank is F. After he realized that he had now received the power that the king spoke of, he immediately began to laugh. The hooligans could not understand the reason for his laughter. It seemed as if he had completely lost his mind. At this point, John finally decided to use his power and strength and struck back. All this was so powerful that James would definitely get a concussion. Now there was no doubt that John had indeed become awakened. His life would never be the same again. The hooligans decided to take revenge for their friend and seriously beat John. All this time they considered him weak and constantly bullied him, but now that will be a thing of the past. His skills and characteristics have grown. Now he can safely defend himself. All his past life he tried to do his best, but he remained unawakened, so he was very weak. Of course he was trying to train and learn about the abyss and monsters. He went to martial arts training and collected data on various skills. That is why he is now sure that he will not lose to these two fools who do not know the basics of combat. It's time to enjoy the revenge. Now he will be the main character, as he always dreamed. He easily beat the bullies and told them that they should improve their skills. At this moment, James regained consciousness. He cannot believe that John has become awake. Looks like a new round of battle awaits us. This time, it should be much more interesting. The stone skin technique strengthens the body with stone. But John knows this and is ready to skillfully defend himself against any attacks. With active defense, you need to anticipate the opponent's future actions. It is easy if you are awake and have a high level of reaction. James always insulted John, but it was in a past life, so now this tradition must be stopped. The battle between them really resembles a battle between David and Goliath, something very large and personal. John has withstood all the attacks of his opponent. Now it's time to finally take revenge for all those insults. He approached James in a flash and delivered a powerful blow with his right hand. It seems that even this is still not enough to defeat another awakened guy with strong characteristics. James easily defended against the attack and hit back. The fight was very competitive. After John became awakened, he thought that now he would be able to easily defeat everyone around him. but this is not quite the case. James still does not believe that John has become awakened. He believes that it was all just an act, and now John will start running away again, as usual. So far, it doesn't look like John is looking for an opportunity to escape. Maybe in his past life he always did, but now everything has changed. All awakened gain skills in rank F. At this level, you are almost no different from an ordinary person. But if you constantly progress, you can reach rank S, and then a person becomes a real monster. John gained the skill of a predator, a skill that few people know about. Besides, he has a weak rank. His opponent has a much higher rank, but for some reason, this whole situation does not follow the classic scenario. John does not feel fear at all and remains confident that he can win. At this moment, he activated his predator aura. To be honest, it looks very powerful. Finally, James realized that his opponent had really become awakened. It was hard for him to believe it, because John was always the weakest in the school. The skills of a predator can make a person a real monster. John already feels how magic obeys him. It is difficult for him to understand what is happening. It is strange, because he is not nervous at all. James moved closer to deliver the killing blow, but at that moment the predator's aura stopped him. The stone skin technique didn't work. All those stones were destroyed in a matter of seconds. The school had no idea what was happening in the backyard. It seemed that today was an ordinary school day. That was until powerful red magic created an artificial solar eclipse. In a few minutes, James, who until recently was extremely confident in his own strength, was lying on the ground unconscious. The devouring is complete as a result of absorbing the target. John was able to increase his rank. He also got a new technique. Now he can also use stone skin. So John can destroy his opponents, take away their strength and skills. That's what it means to be a predator. After this whole situation, he went to the medical center in order to save the hooligans from death. There he was met by a very pretty girl. Her name was Ketty, and she looked very surprised. In a few seconds, she started shouting at John. It is not difficult to guess that it was he who beat these boys. After the battle, he took all these bullies to the infirmary to be examined. The nurse treated his wounds with her healing skills. John decided to lie to Katie and told that he fell from the ladder. That's why he got all these injuries. After the treatment was completed, he could safely return home. Today is truly a wonderful day. He not only became awakened, but also took revenge on his enemies. Now he's a predator. His rank that he couldn't raise by training all his past life changed after the first battle. It may be an F-rank technique, but the power of this technique is at least C-rank, and now John can absorb other people's skills. He does not understand why the White King gave him such power. He now has a large number of questions and almost no answers. Now all he has to do is try to find out more information about the predator. He has not been home for a long time, so he is glad to see his native walls again. After his parents died in a car accident, he stayed with his uncle. John went into the house and decided to find information about the predator and similar skills. He was very surprised when he saw that there was already someone in the room. These guys did not look friendly. John immediately recognized this young man. His name was Robert. He's supposed to be at school right now, but he's at home right now trying to find money. John remembers that in the past, Robert wanted to make friends with other bandits. That's probably why he took the money from the house and got into serious trouble. I can't even believe that it was this day, and it seems that John may have a problem now. John took a closer look and realized that the main bandit is Robert's cousin. His name is Michael. He approached John and said that they don't want any problems. They will just take the money and leave quietly. Robert is also sure that in front of him is an ordinary guy of the second class who is not woken up. John knows he can't just let them go. This is the perfect time to check something. He immediately began to act and delivered the first powerful blow. Such a turn of the plot was not expected by any of the bandits. They were as shocked as Michael. It all happened incredibly fast, so they were even confused for a while. John was not going to stop. He felt that he had an opportunity to do what he planned. The boy tried to activate the Predator skill. It will help him learn more about his strengths. The problem is that the Predator skill was unavailable at this very moment. Now John began to visibly panic. He definitely did not expect this, so he does not know what to do. A small pause was enough for Michael to give him a powerful blow in return. That right hook was very strong and hit the chin. It's called a knockdown. After that, he ordered his assistants to join him in attacking this wretched snot. Each of them has its own special techniques and strengths, all of which John will now experience. The chain technique, the poison technique, and the bleeding technique are all very unpleasant even for an awakened person. In a few seconds, he will meet with these three forces at the same time, so he needs to act very quickly. There was a big explosion in this building. At first, it was not even clear what exactly led to it. The bandits lost sight of John for a while, but they were sure that this fool was already dead. Michael could not believe that an unawakened person could pretend to be an awakened one. Even young guys should be punished for that. After that, it became apparent that John is still alive, and it seems that he is ready to use his skills. Now the chain technique, poisons, and bleeding have been confirmed by his internal system, and he can also apply these skills. Thanks to the mystical power of resistance, it was obtained, so the Predator did not work at an important moment, but then neutralized the opponent's attack. At first, John didn't understand what was happening, but he decided to trust his instincts and go on the attack. Now it's Michael's turn to admit that John has become awakened. You can't play games with this guy anymore because he's become too powerful. In just a few minutes, all the bandits in the room were neutralized. They were not even able to seriously injure the opponent. He learned two things. The status window can only be seen by the awakened one. The information is displayed there, but not completely. There was no shortage of mana, but the predator still didn't activate, so there's something besides mana in the activation conditions. The passive effect of the predator is not specified in the description. It neutralizes all negative effects, such as bleeding or poison. Robert could not understand what was happening. He fell to his knees and began to scream and cry. He finally saw the incredible side of John, so now, his cousin Robert apologizes for his actions. He's ready to lick his shoes or even bark at whatever older John says. It was after this that Robert started barking like a dog, strange behavior, even despite the boy's young age. John is not thinking about his cousin at all now, because something much more important will happen soon. He is ready to forgive Robert, but on the condition that he goes with him, because they have something to do together. Let's move to the forbidden area. You can't enter there without special permission. There you can see two women and a man. They are watching something very large. So there was a breach of the gate. This is a phenomenon when a path is opened for monsters from the abyss. If nothing is done, all this will turn into a disaster. 10 years have passed since the last disaster of the dungeon. This time the gate appeared unexpectedly, and the monsters began to spread. Considering the monsters, if nothing is done, the disaster team will only have a little time left. It may be necessary to evacuate the areas. This man in glasses is called David. He said that evacuation is not necessary because he can turn on the barrier skill. In addition, the rank of these enemies is quite low, which means that the monsters that can appear from this abyss are not very dangerous. Even if an unforeseen crisis occurs, awakened high-ranking warriors will be able to protect the breakthrough. After that, David destroyed one of the monsters with just a kick. This already shows his true level. This awakened one is B rank. Meanwhile, John and Robert were in a hurry. John told his cousin that the HR manager should be there by now. From the very beginning, the mana of this gate is at C rank, and the staff that must come to the gate is at B rank. A huge number of monsters had already been destroyed near the gates of the abyss. This seemed strange because they weren't supposed to break through the B rank barrier, so something was wrong. David began to feel that the mana coming out of this abyss was of a higher rank than his own. These monsters look much more powerful than they should. You have to admit that the situation is getting out of control. Already now it is noticeable that David is losing confidence. He no longer understands this situation so well. Monsters destroy his barrier, and each successive monster seems stronger than the previous one. Soon the rank B barrier was completely destroyed. Now monsters can enter this world without obstacles. They are led by an ogre, a rank A giant, a huge monster who is not going to negotiate with anyone. He has come to destroy and is ready to burn everything in his path, even high-ranking awakened heroes. John had already told his cousin that the situation could get out of control because the monsters from the abyss would turn out to be stronger than expected. Robert did not believe in this whole story. It seemed to him that John could not know about it in advance. There is no monster around and there is no evacuation of people, but John has seen this in his past life, so he is confident in his actions. He told his cousin that his intuition told him so. That is, he decided not to tell the truth. Soon there was no doubt. A group of people was approaching them, fleeing from the monsters. Now it can be officially noted that the gate has been breached. Monsters from the abyss have entered this world. Now Robert will finally believe his older brother. Probably now he will treat his intuition differently. John asked Robert to stay behind and promised to destroy these monsters with his power. Information about the potential disaster spread very quickly in the city. Everyone already knows that the situation is very tense. The breach of the gates turned out to be more dangerous than expected. It is impossible to send reinforcements. All special forces are busy in dungeons or studying the abyss. Now humanity's only hope is the awakened rank A. He must come out and protect the people. Such a warrior is already here. He is called the Sword of Madness Richard. He is an awakened rank A. He is already ready to come and save humanity, even despite his peculiarity, namely the syndrome of the 8th grader. The monsters had already managed to kill a large number of people and destroy many buildings, but now John began to stop them. With the help of his extraordinary abilities, he began to destroy a large number of these ugly creatures. Now he guessed why his predator technique didn't work before. It was because of his tiredness, but now he feels much better. Most skills use mana, but that doesn't mean you only need to worry about this property. Do not forget about the potential fatigue. It increases if you use skills or move. As soon as fatigue reaches 70%, the power of skills decreases and the body becomes heavier. It's hard to think about it all at the same time, but John can absorb the bodies of monsters and thereby restore his mother's supply. Very quickly, this awakened boy increased his rank. Now he is a rank D predator. The more he uses the predator skill, the stronger he becomes. At this rate, he will even be able to reach the highest rank, the first in history. Soon the matter was done and the boy decided to return to his cousin. It was at this moment that he heard a commotion on the mountain, looked up and saw the battle of the awakened against the monster. It is Richard who fights against the ogre. He wants to kill this creature and take revenge for the souls of the people who died. The Warrior of Justice, also known as the Sword of Madness, is ready to deliver justice. John watched all this in silence and could not understand anything. This battle was really very interesting because Richard was fighting against a very strong monster. Sounds and explosions could be heard and seen in other parts of the city. John had never seen anything like this with his own eyes. It was as if he had stepped into some kind of superhero movie. Seeing how this boy defeated a powerful monster, he guessed that he was watching an awakened Ranka. It was he in the past life who stopped the breakthrough of monsters in this gate, Richard's Sword of Madness. Now you can really be sure that he is as strong as they say he is, but he is also very stupid due to the syndrome of the 8th grader. In any case, he saved people, although John does not understand why Richard is here. Before his regression, he was fighting ogres in another part of the city, but things have changed a bit now. John closely observed this unique character and felt the use of the skill. But after a few seconds, something unexpected happened. Someone came up from behind and struck a fatal blow with a sword. Richard did not foresee such a scenario at all. He did not feel the approach of the opponent, and now he is forced to spit his own blood. It was a very sneaky hit. It's very much like Sweet Revenge, but it's not exactly a monster. The arrival of monsters in the city created huge problems for people. Meanwhile, Robert was at Nurse Ketty's side. She was also nearly damaged by this disaster. He looked and could not believe that this is really reality. It all looks like a terrible dream. His older brother warned that a huge number of people would die today, and Kitty would also be among them. She will die because she will help other people instead of evacuating the city. That's why John asked his cousin to put Kathy to sleep with the sleep skill and evacuate her. John promised to do the rest. He would try to deal with the monsters on his own. It is not known how the older brother was able to find out about all this, but Robert complied with his request and saved the nurse. Robert tried to understand how his older brother was able to see the future. Maybe he was awakened with the skill of foresight. John immediately said that this is not the way the teams are, but Robert still wants to believe it. Meanwhile, John was watching some very interesting and important events for the world. He has already understood that everything is not going exactly according to plan, because in his past life events happened somewhat differently. Seriously wounded by the Sword of Madness, Richard ordered his enemy to reveal himself. It turned out that Richard remains alive even with punctured vital organs. It's amazing. This probably means that rank A is on a completely different level, but in front of him is an opponent of rank B. He is called Han Sando. His main strength is stealth. Awakened people who commit crimes are called thieves. Han Sando is one of them. This is a deadly maniac who, during the breach of the gate, killed people and enjoyed it. Surprisingly, John is sure that in a past life these two never met each other. It seems that the future has changed because of John and his skills. This can lead to unexpected events that did not happen in the past life. A real battle has begun between the Sword of Madness and Khan. The awakened hero wants to punish the thief. He was close to his goal, but at that moment something like an earthquake happened. Later it turned out that the huge giant ogre was still alive and was not going to finish his performance. He is ready to stand up and continue to destroy the world and lead other monsters. This is the kind of incredible regeneration you expect from a high-ranking monster. Nothing surprising here. Now the thief and Richard must forget about the feud for a while, because they have much more serious problems. Han decided to forget Richard and leave him for the giant. The monster should do all the dirty work for him. Soon the Khan turned around and realized that there was an extra observer here all this time. He saw John. The boy remained calm and hardly moved. This maniac liked it. He believes that the more he kills people, the better for humanity. It was at this moment that John realized that he was in trouble. Khan Sando is not a gift for any awakened person. If he is not stopped in time, this obsessed maniac can cause serious problems for anyone. The boy activated the stone skin skill in time and protected his neck from the sword. After that, he delivered a powerful kick to the opponent's jaw in the style of Jackie Chan. Now the Khan understood that he was fighting with an awakened one, but this did not scare him at all. It was like that until the moment when John mentioned his name and rank. He made it clear that he knew who the Khan was. A psychopath who loves to kill people. For this, he uses the skill of stealth. John is very pleased that they finally met. With his skills, he is ready to fight such a strong opponent. With the help of his swords, the Khan immediately began to attack. He had not tasted human blood for a long time. So far, he has a hard time breaking through the John's stone defense. This technique is an excellent shield against swords. Each of them tried to avoid serious injuries and deliver a targeted blow to the opponent. Soon the Khan recognized that John was quite skilled as a military commander. This was enough to be confident in his own abilities. He didn't expect that his swords wouldn't help kill this guy. He needed to have additional weapons in the future. In any case, the Khan knows that he will not lose to some snitch. He came to kill, not lose. He is sure that soon the world will be completely plunged into darkness, and then he will be able to do whatever he wants. It was after these words that he activated the stealth skill. Now it is difficult to see him. It was with this skill that he became very famous in the past timeline. It is unlikely to change the picture of the battle, because in any case, Khan's attacks do not help to break through the stone skin. John was sure that he would defend himself, but he underestimated the skill of unpredictable attack too much. Due to the fact that you do not know from where and when exactly your team enemy will attack, you cannot defend yourself skillfully. Very quickly, John felt that his stone skin was not as perfect protection as it seemed to him before. Khan laughed and said that he had killed hundreds of such guys in his lifetime who believed that their skills would make them invincible warriors. Realizing their weakness, they immediately get scared and die from the desire to escape. In the last minutes of their lives, they are incredibly scared of everything. Khan made John understand that any technique has its weaknesses. Every warrior should know that. John really looks very weak now. He is visibly tired and has suffered several injuries. It was necessary to immediately understand that even stone skin has flaws. Now he can pay dearly for this mistake. The stone skin does not block the impact completely. The incredible shock breaks the stone and the destroyed part is replaced by a stone with less strength. Hansando tried to achieve this very beginning about this was his cunning plan. In any case, now John is absolutely sure that he can withstand a one-on-one fight against rank B. His physical abilities are much higher than the average rank. He is sure that he will force the opponent to surrender. Han believes that John has lost his mind and is ready to punish him for his excessive self-confidence. John explained that all this time he dreamed of meeting Hansando for a reason. Ever since his past life, he has always dreamed of taking his stealth skill for himself, and finally, he has such a chance. Han began to panic when he felt this creepy aura of a predator. He realized that John had been hiding his power all this time. Having decided to become invisible again and attack, the thief is sure that it is impossible to defeat an opponent who cannot be seen. He must have forgotten his own words about every skill having its weaknesses. John also realized this when he absorbed monsters, some of them constantly disappearing from his field of vision. This happened again and again, but as a result, the predator still caught up with each of them. This means that no matter where the Khan hides, no matter where he runs, the predator will catch him regardless. As soon as the predator skill grabs its victim, it sucks all the life juices from it and takes away all the energy and strength. The difficult night ended. Soon the sun appeared again in the sky. Among the wreckage and dead bodies of monsters, the hero could be seen, still alive. Unfortunately, these were his last seconds of life. Even the hero of justice, the invincible warrior Richard, could not defeat death. He lost consciousness due to exhaustion. The huge giant proved to be much stronger than the sword insanity. He swung to deliver the final blow and send Richard to hell. It seemed that nothing could be done, but after this blow, the giant realized that he had not killed the hero. It could only mean one thing: John had come to save the Sword of Madness. With each opponent he kills, he becomes stronger and more confident in his own abilities, so now he is ready to challenge even the Titans. Soon all the bad things are over, at least for a while, so humanity can rest a little. The door of the house opened and the frightened parents began to cry with happiness. They saw that their son Robert was still alive and unharmed. He came with John. Soon they told what happened and how they managed to survive during this disaster. Before long, all the news was about the massive gate breach that had happened for the first time in 10 years. According to government statements, the current threat of a gate breach has been completely neutralized. Given the possibility of a second outbreak, the government ordered nearby schools to close for a week. Those who survived can calmly recover physically and mentally. Treatment in hospitals is completely free. Most people were shocked by what happened, but the police, doctors, and psychologists tried to help them. Everyone believed that it was the Sword of Madness that Richard defeated the Titan Killer, but he constantly said that it was done by a completely different guy, so he is not the real hero. The body of the huge ogre giant has not been found, just as no one knows the identity of the thief who attacked people during the disaster. People are concerned that security measures may be insufficient, but the government has assured that it is under control. John was pleased that there was no mention of him during the breaking news, which was exactly what he wanted. Now, after he's rested a bit, it's time to take the next step. John now has 3 techniques. After gaining stealth, he is very happy. Of course, at his current level, it is impossible to use all 3 skills at the same time because he does not have enough mana and stamina. Potions and their use can be the best solution to this problem. Potions are coma elixirs that are created for different purposes, for example, to restore mana and fatigue. Of course, these elixirs are quite an expensive pleasure, which means that you have to earn money. Of course, in order to hunt monsters, you must officially have permission from the state. Even using skills is considered illegal without permission. John remains only to clear dungeons that have not been explored before. The monsters were surprised when they saw that a mortal dared to come to them. It was hard to believe that he was able to find them so easily. They decided to paralyze him and eat him for dinner. It turned out that these monsters can talk well. John came to the Spider Sisters rank B. Their rank is not enough for him to change his level, and that's bad. The monsters got angry when they saw that he did not understand the situation he was in, and said that now he will regret being born into this world. They want to make him suffer for a long time and then eat him. Not a bad plan. The monsters thought that they would easily destroy him, but thanks to his mystical power, he was able to resist their energy attack. He understood that they have useful skills, which means that he wants to take this power for himself. Soon the Spider Sisters guessed that this boy was not such an easy opponent, but it was already too late. After how many minutes, very loud screams could be heard from this dungeon. The hunt has been completed and the new paralysis skill has been registered. So now let's move on to the new South Korean Players Association. Respectable persons have gathered there. A meeting is taking place in the main office of the building. This is Charles. He is the deputy manager, a member of the new South Korean Players Association. The player is an awakened who is allowed to use his skills for various purposes, such as exploring the abyss or clearing dungeons. At the moment, there are 5 centers of such players in South Korea. All of them are considered special. There are also the largest Korean guilds, 4 of them, and all of them have incredible power. Inseparable fighters, master alchemists, sorcerers, and informers, these are the 4 main guilds. Of course, there is also an agency that governs the players, including the 4 major guilds, which is the agency of the new Players Association. Currently sitting at this table is the head of the Night Wanderer Guild, an S-ranked player, Mary. Also next to her is a representative of the new South Korean Players Association, Master Joseph. Mary said that she learned about the Thieves Guild. This is a criminal organization founded by the most vicious thieves in the country. Members of this guild wear gold rings with 3 skulls, and the list of players that these thieves hunt is already known. Mary is sure that she was not called here to hand over the documents in person. Joseph laughed and said that he wanted to hear her opinion on an interesting topic. He decided to ask her when she passed the gamer's test. Mary replied that it was at the age of 19. This girl was visibly surprised and did not understand what her old acquaintance was hinting at. Joseph was smiling because he was wondering if the high school player could fight the monster. Meanwhile, John destroyed the monsters and enjoyed the treasures found in their cave. He then decided to call one of the 4 largest guilds, the Alchemists, and said he wanted to buy some potions. The week-long closure of the school due to the gate disaster is over. The students have returned to their normal lives. During this week, John was able to improve his strength and helped his cousin improve his endurance skills. After that, he went to another dungeon and successfully cleared it. This helped him collect a huge amount of magic stones, so he left for the Alchemist Guild. They were very surprised when they saw what John had brought with him. He was immediately served as a customer. Also, John has already managed to reach rank C, but despite all this, he still has a long way to go. It is surprising that with all his characteristics, he still has to go to school. It is extremely boring. There were already many miracles around him. Some learned that he was able to beat James and his friends without support. The students could not understand whether John was able to wake up, but they were sure that in the future, big problems await him. Everything is very simple. Everyone knows that Thomas will not leave this situation without his intervention. They haven't seen John for a long time. It must be said right away that Thomas is an awakened S-rank. Thomas is the leader of the Taesan High School gang. The Chaebol Taesan Group is a large corporation that sponsors the high school. This means that this guy here is really a very influential person who has the necessary connections and power. Few people know, but James and his men attacked John precisely at the request of Thomas. They tried to destroy him physically and mentally. It went on for many years. Thomas did it because John was still not awake. He had no other motives. Now Thomas has come to talk to this guy, about whom there have been a lot of rumors lately. One of his men decided to intervene in the conversation and started yelling at John. He regretted his actions very quickly after Thomas broke his nose with his left fist. This guy probably doesn't like it when someone interrupts him during a conversation. Thomas knows that after defeating James, John is very confident in his own abilities. But this does not mean that now he has additional power in this school and can do anything he wants. John was surprised because it was the first time he saw the magical power of an awakened Class S. It must be admitted that it really looks very powerful. Surprisingly, John is not going to show his excitement. He remains very calm. The boy is probably wondering what will happen when such a serious warrior as Thomas meets a real predator. At this moment, their conversation was interrupted again. This time, it was Linda. She ordered Thomas to stop and leave John alone. Then she looked at John and also ordered him to calm down and not provoke the situation. Linda is the head of the class. She comes from a wealthy family, is also on the S rank, studies almost perfectly, and has incredible prospects. She is called a real diamond, to be honest. Linda is called differently, but everyone knows that it is better not to joke with her. In case of problems, she is directly and dirty, ready to put pagans in their place. Thomas laughed and said that there had been some misunderstanding, because there was an ordinary conversation between 2 friends. Linda replied that she understands this whole situation, and she does not need to tell all these tales. There was tension between them. Thomas does not like it when girls teach him about life. Linda warned that if he didn't take a step back and leave now, she would help him do it, so he had no other choice. John, meanwhile, calmly watched this. He hoped that all this would end without a conflict. Soon it happened. Thomas admitted that he was wrong, turned around and walked away. He is not going to fight with either Linda or John. Probably all these are just words. He decided to distract this girl from his proper actions. After that, he turned around and activated the power of the flame to attack strongly and fiercely. At that moment, the students heard a familiar voice. It was an urgent message from the principal. A special lecture will be held in the main hall of the Players Association. All students must gather in the main hall immediately. The director repeated these words several more times. It happened precisely at the moment of conflict between the students. Linda remained calm and ready to repel any enemy attack. This girl is really special. Thomas said that she was very lucky, turned around and left the classroom. After that, Linda returned and decided to make sure that everything was fine with John and that he did not have time to be beaten. The girl wanted to say that he might not thank her, but she saw that he was no longer in his place either. John said that they needed to hurry and gather in the main hall, so there was no time for idle talk. His quick actions and confident talk was something strange. He was completely different before. Soon, all the students from the school decided to go to the main hall to watch a special lecture. This lecture was organized by the Players Association, so everyone was very interested to understand why they were brought together, maybe due to the breach of the Abyss Gate. Soon the students were greeted by the Deputy Director of Personnel of the Players Association. His name is Charles. We have seen him before. There are two reasons why he gathered all the students in this hall today. Of course, one of those reasons is the lack of response to the gate breach. The charge and safety training from the Players Association is also important, but there is another reason. For those students who are responsible for the future of the new Korea, changes to the player exam are announced. Some students didn't really listen to Charles. For example, Thomas was now focused on getting revenge on John. Linda was also thinking about John. She decided to find out more about this guy later. Meanwhile, he did not know at all that his persona was interesting to anyone. John already wanted to finish his studies as soon as possible and clean the new dungeon again. The other students were surprised that the player's exam had anything to do with them. Usually only people after 19 years of age pass it. This means that most of the students should not participate in this exam this year, but Charles came to give recommendations. Recently, an unexpected event happened. A breach of the gates, due to a sharp increase in the number of monsters and dungeons. The Players Association admits that they now lack skilled warriors, so starting this year, they plan to change their rules. They plan to allow even high school students to get recommendations, and that's a bold decision. The guidelines for each school include testing ability, grades, and behavior. They plan to select the best among students. John is sure that this is all an insidious lie. This exam can really be taken by high school students, but the selection has already begun. This is the skill of Master Charles. He knows how to identify talents with the help of an observer's eye. It is enough for him to look at the students, and he immediately sees their potential and opportunities. This ability allows you to quantify a large number of abilities of the person you are looking at, and even learn the player's information while concentrating. The numbers here are much better than elsewhere, so Charles is confident that the players and members of his association have a future ahead of him. He had already seen special talents among these young students. It only took him a few minutes to do so. Charles immediately noticed the characteristics of Thomas. This guy could not be unnoticed. Of course, the best of all is Linda. Maybe Charles knew about her talent even before he came to this school. He received a list of recommended targets from the Night Wanderers, but even they didn't expect this school to have such talents. Thomas raised his hand and decided to address Charles. Quite a brave decision from the student. It turned out that Thomas was wondering if there are students who are completely unsuitable for the role of a player. The gamer's exam is a test to determine if an awakened has the right to become a professional gamer. This means that the unawakened should not listen to all these stories because they have no chance of becoming players. A player is not only his strength, of course there is also the rank of the awakened, the ability to cope with various situations, and the knowledge of the abyss. All these complex abilities must be tested in order for a person to be eligible to become a player. But to begin with, any person must become awakened in order to have a perspective. Thomas believes that the unawakened who hear all these recommendations may suffer. Of course, he laughs and looks at John when the words are spoken. After his speech, he probably wants to know if John has woken up or if he's still second-rate. Linda intervened again and tried to protect the boy. She started shouting at Thomas and told him to shut up. John does not understand her behavior. He did not ask to help himself. He no longer needs protection. Charles understands what this student is talking about, but attending this lecture is up to each student. Thomas taunts John. He is sure that John will not be able to receive the recommendations because he is still not awake. Of course, everyone can show their abilities and prove their skills, so everyone has a chance to become a player. But John does not necessarily have to do it personally to get a letter of recommendation. One must not forget that he is being watched all this time. Soon, Charles felt that another potential super talent appeared among all these students. The master paid attention to him. He knows that the students consider him unawakened, but his potential level is currently unknown. It is impossible to confirm the information. It seems that this student has learned to hide his abilities. Even Charles was surprised by this, because he usually sees students everywhere with ease. John decided to admit that he really wasn't a very smart guy. He agrees that if he is not awakened, there is no point in listening to all these lectures. It is just a waste of time. That is why he wants to leave this hall and leave John and all his friends to listen to the master. Thomas did not expect such insolent behavior. It was obvious that he was incredibly angry. Charles was very surprised that his observer's gaze did not work 100%. This had never happened before until he met this unknown boy. He was still shocked that his internal system could not confirm the information. So this student is really special, although his current level and skills remain in question. Everyone will be shocked to learn that this guy, who was previously considered unawakened, is at an incredible level and has enormous potential. John left the central hall and decided to go to the school library. He decided to use his free time to find information about the White King who had given him this power. Soon he saw that 3 boys approached him. They must have been looking for him for a long time. They said that Thomas wanted to see him, and for that he had to follow them. Of course, John was not going to do what they told him. He said that he did not want to see anyone and continued to read books. At that moment, these guys reminded him that he runs his aunt's restaurant, and it completely changed the nature of the conversation. Thomas asked to convey that he knows that John has no parents left, so he can make life difficult for his aunt at any moment. The boys tried to calm John down and assure him that they would still make him go to Thomas. These fools did not even realize that they had angered John too much. There was no need to threaten his loved ones. After how many seconds they regretted their decision, he will teach them how to conduct conversations properly. Now John told each of them how to behave and decided to find out where Thomas is now. As soon as John learned the location of his opponent, he immediately went to him, to the school gym. He met Thomas there. He was not alone. There was another awakened man next to him. This man immediately informed Thomas that he felt a strong aura in this room. It was a rank A hunter, a bodyguard of Thomas, whose name was Hundo. His opponent analysis technique doesn't work, which means they have an awakened rank A in front of them. Thomas laughed because he realized that John was still awake, so now they can talk as friends. He explained that he didn't really intend to do anything bad to John's loved ones. Rather, he just wanted to learn more information about him. After graduation, he plans to create a guild, but even a genius like him can't do it all by himself. For this, he needs the right people around, not a loser like James, but really talented students. Of course he means John, the boy he didn't recognize 5 minutes ago. He asked John to forget about old grudges and become friends. This will give him the opportunity to earn a lot of money and become famous. His family can also avoid a poor life, so in this situation, all parties win. John activated the stone skin skill and said that all those words were worthless. He believes that Thomas is an ordinary, understandable fool who should have been taught a long time ago. Thomas is ready for battle. He is still incredibly confident and therefore wants to show this dog his place. Space is a barrier skill that surrounds the space with a shield. The magical forces inside the shield cannot be felt outside. With this technique, other people in the school will not know about the fight between these 2 students. So this means that they can both start testing each other's abilities and finally resolve their conflict. Each of them is incredibly motivated and sure that the truth is on his side. John immediately felt that his opponent was very strong. This fight would not end in 2 seconds. One mistake could lead to a fatal outcome. John knew what he was getting into. He is suffering now because his lack of experience affects this battle, but that doesn't mean he has to give up and admit defeat. Thomas laughs loudly or feels that the initiative is on his side. He hopes that now John recognizes him as the best speaker. It's funny to watch how Hundo calmly watches this fight, as if he were in a movie theater. Looking at all this fire, he felt sorry for John. Maybe this guy didn't deserve such a cruel death. He is probably jumping to conclusions, because John is not going to lose yet and is ready for the second round. The battle of these 2 talents could go down in the history of the school, but unfortunately, no one will see it except Hundo. They really deserve each other. Each has their strengths and weaknesses, but the desire to win makes them potential champions. With every minute the initiative slipped from Thomas's hands, it was noticeable that John finally felt his own rhythm of battle. He began to act more decisively, skillfully defend himself against the opponent's attacks, and make powerful counterattacks. His last left hook was very powerful indeed and gave Thomas a concussion. His personal bodyguard could not believe that he was really seeing all this with his own eyes. He believed that Thomas is the greatest talent of this country, but now it becomes obvious that this is not quite the case. Thomas can't stand up, he can't move at all, so John's skills aren't limited to stone skin. Meanwhile, John was incredibly happy that he finally managed to beat this insolent boy. There are 3 skills in total that John got thanks to the Predator. They are stone skin, invisibility, and paralysis. John didn't use all of these skills from the start, for reasons of his own. Paralysis cannot easily defeat S-rank opponents. Invisibility is quickly destroyed by a wide range of fire attacks. The Predator is the last chance to win, but this technique cannot save a life every time. That is why his goal was to accumulate paralysis in his opponent during close combat. The stat reduction skill has a greater effect if it is boosted by a direct hit rather than being used at long range. In other words, if the paralysis is inflicted several times in a row, it can paralyze even a high-ranking opponent. Each blow added new cracks to Thomas's wall of protection until that wall was completely destroyed. It was in this way that this boy was able to defeat one of the most talented students of the school. Hundo thinks that it is incredible. His host was defeated in a direct confrontation. It is beyond any expectations. Now Thomas is ready to admit that he underestimated his opponent too much. Otherwise, he would not have been beaten by such a fool as John. Now with the help of his crystal, he wants to take revenge and avenge his shameful defeat. He summoned the aura of a huge fiery skeleton and said that he would be a worthy opponent. It seemed that Thomas needed to go to the hospital, but he was able to recover and is ready for the second part of the fight. John realizes that he will not be able to hold such a strong enemy, so he decided to run away. It can only strike back after defending against a large skeleton attack. This battle is not exactly equal, but no one can see that. There are no referees, so you can do whatever you want. Soon there was a huge explosion. If not for the protective barrier, then these two could have destroyed the entire school. John was injured and fell to the ground. Now he is in a really difficult situation. Thomas uses the Fireheart skill, which is his true form. In normal human form, it would be difficult to activate this skill, but Thomas had activated the magic power stone before that. This magic stone is also called the Heart of the Monster. It is a product obtained by processing. In simple words, with the help of this stone, Thomas received enhanced magical power, but only temporarily. Thomas is now fully capable of unleashing his power and strength, meaning John is unlikely to be able to defeat him while this skill is active. Hundo knew that this technique had its drawbacks, so he began to beg his master to stop and not kill the John. This magical power is too strong for Thomas. He may fail and lose control. His heart may fail and burst. Magical energy must also remain under control, but Thomas does not understand this at all. He does not like to be ordered and is not going to listen even to his personal bodyguard. He believes that this fool John humiliated him, therefore he deserves a cruel death. Now it is obvious that Thomas has lost his mind, but it is difficult to come up with a solution to this problem. It will not be easy to stop him. Hundo ran up to John to make sure that everything was fine with him. He suggested that the boy run away immediately. He promised that he could stop his master and said that John should take advantage of it. John finds this suggestion insulting to himself as he responds to it with a powerful blow to his jaw. He is not going to run away because Thomas was the first to start this fight, so it must end. With the help of the potion, he was able to restore his energy and mana supply. Now is the time to show your true face and move forward no matter what. In the meantime, serious negotiations were held in the Players' Association. Charles returned to Joseph and told that he found 2 interesting students in one of the schools. Everyone was surprised when they saw their characteristics. Usually high school students are not so strong. Even despite their rank, they had already reached a high level without much training. It seems that new hunters at the level of a saint will soon appear in their country. One of the hunters who represented Japan was called a saint. She was 19 years old when she first tested her level. Then she turned out to be a monster because her scores were higher than 2,500, although now at this school the students have even better indicators than hers. It's hard to believe that John has more than 5,000 points. Maybe it's some kind of observer error. Charles tried to understand all this, but nothing came together in his head. It was as if it was all just an illusion. He left the office together with his assistants and confidently decided to deal with this situation. Meanwhile, the Hundo Guard was watching something very, very scary. It can be compared to the Battle of the Elements or the Battle of Godzilla against Kong. With the help of the Predator skill, John is really close to defeating the huge fire skeleton. Thomas cannot understand why his extraordinary powers are not working. He was sure that this would be enough to win. But now his opponent John has activated something so terrible and powerful that even a huge fire skeleton can't handle it. This is probably the power of the king, and now this power is directed against Thomas. He has no chance of victory. At first he tried to defend himself, but then he admitted that a cruel punishment awaits him. Even the protective barrier could not withstand such a load. This battle could not be hidden from other people in the school. A physical education teacher will probably notice some problems in his gym. Hundo was next to his unconscious master, begging John to stop and calm down. At the last moment, the guard Ranka Hundu was able to pull the master from the embrace of death despite the risk. It doesn't matter anymore. John still took the skill from his master, and now that's the most important thing. Hundo reminded that his master is the heir of a large company, so John should prepare for serious consequences. The guy replied that he was against this fight and was only trying to protect himself. Besides, he is not afraid of any consequences. John said that he is not going to kill Thomas. Instead, he wants to get money for his life. If Thomas is really the heir of a large company, then 1 billion can easily be paid for him. Meanwhile, students began to gather near the sports ground to understand what happened. They guessed that some large-scale battle took place there. Maybe they were attacked by demons or monsters. Linda was the first to feel the aura of fire and guessed that Thomas was involved in this case. The teachers tried to calm the students down and keep them away from the fire, but Linda considers herself special. She is not going to listen to anyone and wants to see with her own eyes what happened. She must have guessed that John is also there. She believes that she should have protected this boy from the attack of that one. Linda hopes that John is still alive. It's even hard to imagine what happened to her when she saw that John confidently won this battle. John said that she came in just in time. He needed a witness, as well as someone who would help take John's body away from here. This guy needs to be taken to the hospital immediately, or he could die from his multiple injuries. He explained that in fact they did not fight each other. Thomas just fell down the stairs. After that, he said goodbye to Linda and immediately disappeared. She had never seen such strange behavior in her life. This guy has really changed. He's not going to be weak and lose to others anymore. John is sure that Linda will help Thomas, and he also hopes that for some time the Thiessen Company will not cling to him because of this guy. John also noticed that he had the charm of the heart of the monarch. It increases the abilities of the members of the group. Previously, he believed that layers refer only to the appearance of famous people on TV. But now, this skill came to him after he absorbed the power of Thomas. Monarch's Heart is a powerful skill that can unlock the potential and skills of team members. It's surprising that this stupid Thomas had such a technique. He probably never used it in his life. Skills that affect the whole party are rare, regardless of their level. Now John can combine his techniques. That's great news. Because of all these thoughts, he completely forgot about caution. It seems that this will lead to new problems. Several expensive cars stopped near him. After that, Charles turned to him and said that he had several questions. He wants to understand what happened in the gym, although he will probably have other questions. Rumors about what happened in the gym quickly spread through the city. Of course, Thomas's parents found out about it almost immediately. His father was shocked. His only son is in the hospital, but this is not enough, because he must pay an additional compensation of 1 billion for his son's life. Hondo was shaking with fear and apologizing to his boss. He understood what he had to do to correct his mistakes. His boss said that despite the money they have to pay, they should also get personal compensation. Of course, Hondo is not a fool. He understands what this means, but he cannot believe it. He said that the rival Thomas was a very young guy, and he would be killed mercilessly. The boss of Thiessen Company, Hunter Rank S. Christopher, he ordered the guard to shut up and said that the matter must be done. Meanwhile, the conversation between Charles and John continued. The master wanted to know what John did in the gym. The boy is not quite sure what the master means. Maybe he is talking about the lecture, or maybe about the battle that happened later. Charles is the deputy director of the association. The chances that he will personally go to the scene of the fire are small, but he may already know everything that is needed. Maybe he is waiting for the guy to make his move, so it remains to understand some nuances. John soon guessed that Charles still didn't know about the explosion in the gym, and that was a good thing. John was sure that the visit of Charles was connected with the fact that they wanted to offer him a hunter test. Charles began to laugh loudly and said that they had no such plans for the high school student. At this moment, the boy activated his predator aura and showed his true characteristics. He is sure that this should be enough to offer him the best conditions. So all these numbers were not a coincidence or an illusion. It is hard to believe. But John became even stronger in these few hours. Soon our main character returned home. He deserved a little rest. His younger brother couldn't believe that John had received the right to take the hunter exam. It would happen in a month. Robert started bowing to him and calling him king, god and general of the emperor. Surely this guy is too stupid. The hunter exam is in a month, so John wants to focus on training and getting stronger before then. He hopes that he will not have any problems with the Thiessen Company, and he will be able to calmly think about training. The boy had no idea that strange things were happening near his house, that the hunters of the association were protecting him. Surprisingly, this protection is not enough to protect the high school student from danger this time. The thieves guessed that John would take part in the hunter exam, so the association protects potential stars. These are two killers called Black and White Brother. They are rank demons with strong abilities. The Black Brother has the skills of stealth and body enhancement. His White Brother is a bit weaker. He only knows how to use the stealth technique. They came here to make this high school student really suffer. From the very beginning, their plan failed because this high school student found out about their presence and came out to meet them. John wasn't going to talk much. He immediately started beating the White Brother and then prepared to meet the Black Brother. This guy is getting stronger by the minute. If his progress is not stopped, he will truly become a living legend. They considered him a small rat without experience, but now they understand that this is really an incredible talent. A few hours earlier, John had talked to Hundo about potential compensation. The security guard explained that he will not solve this situation and also said that he cannot remain silent and not tell what happened. John said he didn't want any trouble, but asked Hundo to do everything he could to reach an agreement. If Hundo betrays him, then he will feel the true wrath of the predator. This is called an awakened oath, a way of making a contract created by an awakened using magical power. If one of the parties to the contract violates its obligations, it will have to pay dearly for it. John asked not only for compensation, but also to do everything to prevent other people from learning about this incident, and that's exactly what happened. According to the news, it was said that the explosion occurred precisely because of a gas explosion in the gym, but that's not all. At the right moment, Hundo called John in order to tell all the information about the upcoming attack of the killers. It was through this information that John learned of the danger and prepared to defend himself. Go out and fight professional killers with your own hands. That deserves respect. It turned out that his skills are already enough to easily destroy these two masked fools. Their stealth abilities are rumored to allow them to kill even the strongest of enemies. But it was too easy for John. He was always one step ahead. When he used the predator technique, the two finally felt that sometimes high school students are stronger than everyone else. Most of the events in this city are interconnected with each other, and this causes a real domino effect. Mary has already heard about the selection of participants for the hunter exam. Almost all promising hunters from the country will gather together for this. Joseph and Mary named many famous and talented hunters. Joseph said that most of all he is looking forward to meeting Mary's younger brother. This boy really deserves special attention. Mary said that her younger brother would never match her characteristics. She said that she was waiting for a not-quite-famous student because now almost everyone is talking about the boy to whom Charles personally came. This student has incredible potential. According to rumors, he can become one of the best hunters in the country. Charles came and personally saw his talent, so now almost everyone is talking about this guy. Meanwhile, John was unaware of the rumors around him. He looked at his hands and could not understand why he lacked physical capabilities. Due to the overload, the use of the predator skill is not possible at the current moment. In addition to causing problems for the association and hunters, these black and white brothers are now attacking high school students. These demons are becoming more dangerous every day, which is why John told Charles about it. Charles was very unhappy that the list of participants in the exam was revealed, and now all the students are in danger. They will have to call for reinforcements. John initially wanted to blame the company for everything, but instead of solving the problem, he would get more trouble. Now he should think not at all about the company, but about the overload of his physical abilities. Due to the insufficient amount of stamina, he cannot use the predator skill, and this is a problem that needs to be solved. To increase the level of awakening, you need the predator technique, but it is not available at the moment. He has only one option to get out of this situation, although he is not entirely sure about this choice. John went home to rest. The next day started almost immediately. From the very morning he came to Blackhead. It is the best training center in Korea. There he met a guide named Yura. She greeted and said that she is ready to help everyone who wants to get better. John didn't come here alone. He took Robert with him, although his cousin was against it, because to become a member of Blackhead, you need money and power. Seeing two young guys, the girl tried to explain that they have a training center here. At that moment, John asked to register them. Yura was very surprised when she saw the VIP card of the Alchemist. This is one of the largest guilds in the country. She looked at John and thought that he might be a relative of a high-ranking hunter. Maybe he is the owner of the guild. On the other hand, if she registers him right away, she may have problems in the future due to his young age if something goes wrong. At that moment, a large and muscular man in the hall began to laugh loudly. He saw that Miss Jura had a dilemma. This is a rank B coach. He is called the strongest Daniel. He explained that this is not a place where you can get only for money. Robert immediately recognized this bodybuilder. Even the boys from the younger classes know about him. Also known as the rookie killer, he likes to take down the weak and show off his muscles every 10 seconds. John confidently looked at him and said that he was not going to listen to this weak biker. Roberta and Yura were shocked by such insolent behavior of John. They understood that now it could end badly. Daniel got angry and said that he would not allow anyone to talk like that. Meanwhile, John remained calm. He said that they can test which of them is the strongest. Whoever loses to whom has to pay a membership fee for 1 year, and if John really wants it, then Daniel accepts graduation. Soon they both moved to the dungeon to test their abilities. Of course, this is all just a virtual game, but with it you can check the characteristics of each. A lot of people gathered around, and in order to watch how the experienced Daniel destroys the brazen newbie. This training program is called a virtual carrier, Yura told about it. A virtual stretcher is training with an element of competition, in which you need to carry the maximum weight. You also need to defeat the maximum number of Class B monsters and reach your destination as quickly as possible. When someone in the training center wants to understand who is the strongest, then everyone starts participating in this game. These conditions are not favorable for a newcomer. Daniel is a clear favorite who should win easily. His muscle-building skills made him a famous trainer, although he was never able to become a hunter. The weight he can lift in this game is hard to even imagine, so he is the strongest opponent in this gym. Daniel was relaxed until he saw John start to act very confidently. This brash newbie came here to gain the respect of others and show off his abilities, not to lose. He doesn't care about the number of monsters, maximum weight, and obstacles. His level will allow him to pass all this without problems. From the very beginning, he took a huge weight on his shoulders and began to destroy dozens of monsters. It is even hard to believe that this is only a high school student if it were not known. Many believed that they were watching a professional hunter. His performance is really impressive. He probably came here to set new records. Daniel could not believe that he faced a real Hercules. He will have to pay a lot of money for a year of training John. The audience was also shocked. Only Robert tried to pretend that he was calm. John enjoyed the victory and was not afraid to say insulting words about Daniel. He said that he was waiting for his subscription for a year. 30 days have passed very quickly since the announcement of the changes in the hunter exam. The long-awaited day has finally arrived. The test for the hunter's license will be started soon. The association said that this time, minors will also take part in it. That is why people of different ages from all over the country came here to show their capabilities. The best hunters of the country will gather here, such as the Han, who has no equal in close combat. Also here will be the owner of an incredible fighting sense, which even the strongest hunters cannot defeat, Druid Lee. Tire Hunter is also here. It is called Lightning. It has no competitor in Busan. Of course, there is the one who is rumored to have the highest score of all, future superstar Linda. A huge number of talented boys and girls will take part in this exam. Reporters also gathered here. Some of them are very tense, like a girl named Kim, because if you don't make a good report, you can lose your job. She believes that her life is almost completely destroyed. She did not become a talented hunter, and now she cannot become even a good reporter. Soon she saw that another exam participant, John, was passing by her. Soon John was already preparing to start. He was informed that the exam would start in a minute. He was late because he was giving an interview for someone. But this is not a mistake because you also have to think about the image in advance. He saw a huge number of other students around him. The competition will be at the highest level. Soon he met up with Linda. John pretended to be surprised to see her even though she is one of the favorites for the exam. She couldn't believe that it was really John. His body had changed a lot, although the boy said that he only practiced a little. He must have become too modest because he does not admit that he now looks like Apollo. These are too many changes in a month. At that moment, the representatives of the association approached them. They were informed that this hall is the first round of the test where future hunters will be selected. The rules are very simple. First, you need to look at your breasts and remember your number. In this exam, you need to collect 5 badges, including your own. If your own is lost, the participant is eliminated from the exam. Time is limited. There is only 1 hour to achieve the goal. Everything is allowed except murder. Strange things began to happen in the room. Something similar to a transformation happened to the floor. In any case, the first round of the exam has started, and now the students have to do everything possible to achieve the goal. Everyone around immediately forgot about favorites and outsiders. Some even dared to attack Linda. These fools felt her true wrath very quickly. They had better choose another victim. So far, she is the most talented of all. The other students do not stand out. Some in the association are waiting for tires from Busan. This guy should show his zips and make others respect him. 20 minutes of the test have already passed and no one can reach him. Now Linda and Shin are the favorites of the competition. Various representatives of the association are trying to figure out which of them will take first place. Charles remains calm and does not pay attention to all these conversations. He is focused on something else. He's the only one who's seen John's real stat numbers, so he's sure this guy will pass this test with ease. Charles saw that John was now fighting a serious opponent and began to follow their battle. He was shocked and angry because he saw the Han using the iron skin skill. John does almost the same. Now he uses the stone skin technique. It seems that Charles misunderstood the potential of John. It seems that he was able to deceive an ordinary high school student. So far, John hasn't dodged a single blow, but it seems like that was the guy's plan. He did not try to dodge, but on the contrary, as a real person, he ran at his opponent and waited for his attack. This strategy can be underestimated at first, but surely John has some clear plan. It turned out that all this really makes sense. These two qualities complement each other, and now John has increased his stamina and charisma. Even after a month of training, the seal on the Predator was not broken, which means that John's abilities are still not enough. The way to increase performance through training is to provide the maximum stimulation that the body can withstand. This means that as a result of the training, it is a struggle at the limit of possibilities. So the training of John is still not over. It wasn't long before he finally defeated his opponent, even though the Han was also one of the most talented contestants in the exam. John now has 2 badges, 3 more left to collect in order to fulfill the conditions of the first round. Charles started to laugh out loud and call this guy cocky, probably a good thing, but everyone around didn't understand his behavior. John has chosen an incredibly bold method of training in the battle for survival. It is so bold that it is frightening. Now this could be a problem because he was doing it for stats, but he used up too much of his stamina in this battle. It was necessary to collect the badges of weak players first and not spend a lot of energy on a battle with a strong opponent. Meanwhile, it was really fun in the arena, with only a few clear favorites left who are stronger than everyone else. The awakened Tyre has now defeated 147 opponents. It can be said that this is a record of the exam. It is unlikely to give him the opportunity to relax and rest because a new battle awaits him. Shin immediately began to attack. His confidence only increased during the exam. John managed to collect a sufficient number of badges, but still decided to challenge one of the strongest. Their battle can be a real spectacle for fans of these competitions. Each of them has incredible talents and abilities, but only one will be the winner. John soon realized that he underestimated his opponent. Fighting him turned out to be much more difficult than he expected. Shin is truly an incredible talent. His speed is amazing, and his strength exceeds all expectations. Powerful lightnings surround his whole body. They not only block an opponent's, but also help him in his own attacks. Lightning bolts have a radius of action and destructive power. They can be used during close combat, as well as at a given distance. In this situation, John still can't use the Predator skill, so he has to find another way to win. Shin is going to wait for his thoughts. He attacks now and prepares to take another badge to his collection. Of course, this is not part of John's plans. He still remains fast and flexible enough to defend against the opponent's attacks. Their battle is similar to the Battle of the Gods. It is really very large-scale and spectacular. So far, John cannot seize the initiative. It is necessary to expel that he will lose this battle. In order to change his position, he used a stone fist. Maybe even this will help to seize the initiative. It turned out that even this was not enough. Shin easily destroyed the stone with the help of his lightning. This guy easily defends against all John attacks and goes on the counterattack. You can immediately see great training and experience. He used all his lightning power against the John. There was no way to run away from such a powerful strike. Shin was enjoying the match. He was constantly smiling and enjoying the process. Before this battle, everyone tried to avoid meeting him. It was difficult for him to find a brave opponent. He believed that only Linda would be able to entertain him in the Hunter exam, and only in the battle against her should he show his full potential. But now he is satisfied that there was another young student who dared to challenge him. John does not like empty talk. He is better at acting than talking. He realized that now was the perfect moment to deliver a stunning counterblow, and he did so. He had waited and studied the tire's weaknesses for a long time, and now it was finally time for revenge. Of course, stone skin cannot pierce the wrath of the rain god, even beyond its limits. Such blows do not leave a mark on the body. But this exam hall is different from all the others. It was made of material that can withstand the power of the awakened. Unlike stone skin, this material does not lose its properties, even if it is destroyed. So if he uses this material as a weapon, then this is the only way to defeat the wrath of the god of thunder. This is a perfect example of analytical skills and strategic skills. This battle John can win with the help of his mind. Shin now understands that he should have acted instead of talking, but now it is too late to think about it. He did not have time to defend himself from a powerful blow, and now he is forced to suffer and feel terrible pain. The audience was shocked. One of the main favorites of this exam had just been defeated by a stranger. Charles liked that John made people nervous. In any case, this guy had already performed better than expected. It also means that all the badges that Shin has collected during all this time go to John. At that moment, the boy felt that the cold was approaching. He raised his head and saw ice. It can only mean one thing. Linda is around and she goes to him. But what can that mean? John looked confused. They go to the same school and she has always protected him. Does she want to destroy him now? The girl looked very serious and confident. It was obvious that she did not come to this exam to talk or joke. It turned out that she was nearby all this time and watched his battle from the tires. Linda believes that with power comes responsibility, because power without responsibility is just violence. She admits that John has become very strong. She did not expect that he could defeat Shin. Now she understands how he was able to defeat Thomas in the battle in the gym. You have to forget about friendships because it's an exam. This is Linda's strategy. That's why she started to attack, but Jones knew what to expect. He managed to dodge, but it was too early to rejoice. This snow is like real bombs. It is very difficult to dodge all these attacks. Linda acts very quickly and confidently. She is like a real panther. She does not give her enemies even a second to think. The girl said that she is not like Thomas. She is not going to act recklessly and lose her mind because of anger. Now that she understood how he defeated his past rivals, she would no longer underestimate him and think he was weak. She believed him when he said that Thomas fell down the stairs, but now she understood what really happened in the school gym. The girl was visibly angry and promised herself to put this little swindler in his place. Using unauthorized skills is a crime. Thomas and James are still in the hospital to this day, and John will answer for this. She understands that something happened to him as well, so she will not write a complaint against him to the ministry. Linda is convinced that he should refrain from taking the exam because he does not have the qualifications to become a hunter. Suddenly, John stood up and said that Thomas didn't have the qualifications to become a hunter either. He is a tyrant who is almost impossible to stop. He also has no strength, responsibility, and qualifications. He is not going to give up the opportunity to become a professional hunter and is ready to challenge even a Lind. He asked her not to be a coward and not to use the survival test as an excuse. After hearing his answer, she realized that she could no longer feel sorry for him. Now she would show what she was capable of. Maybe John was able to defeat several bullies at school, but now he will understand how weak he is compared to her. The stone skin has been broken 100 times. It has long since lost its function. Even if John starts using stealth now, it will quickly disappear from attacks over a large area. The Monarch's Heart, which increases the level of the ability, is already activated. It is not enough to break this situation. Predator is still sealed. Also, John doesn't have the duration to paralyze melee like he did with Thomas. As a result, he can only rely on his own strength and talents. He has only one way to win. A few seconds after the collision of these two young titans, there was a big explosion. Spectators could not understand what was happening. They could not see anything because of the fog. A little later, the fog cleared and they finally understood what had happened. If you look closely, you can see that John and Linda are lying next to each other. Yes, it looks quite interesting. Maybe they forgot about the exam and decided to rest a bit. Strangely, John was kissing her when he said he only had one chance to win. It seemed like he meant something else. The guy understands that at the last moment he has to come up with something really perfect in order not to lose this battle. At first it might seem that he decided to just kiss Linda, but it is not quite so. With this kiss, he was able to activate the power of paralysis. Linda understood everything, but she couldn't do anything. Her body completely refused to listen to her. The probability of success of the status deflection skill increases the closer the station is. It doesn't work as well at long range. Plus, ideally, the action will be stronger if you apply it from the inside rather than the outside, so a kiss is needed. John came up with the perfect plan. He mixed his sample with the paralysis technique and made Linda taste it. Of course, if you take into account the incredible resistance of the S-Class, this is only a gamble. He understands that he is taking a risk, but the result turned out to be incredible. The paralysis really worked. The opponent's mind was dealt a fatal shock. With the help of this charisma, John increased by 3 points. The first stage of the exam is officially completed. Now the medical team will carefully transport the participants of the exam. All students were asked to remain in their seats until staff arrived. Since the first test was completely completed, all the injured test participants were immediately treated by doctors. Despite the fact that Linda suffered from paralysis, lost her badge, and was unable to fight, she still successfully passed the first stage. Speaking of John, he collected badges, and even though there were only 7 at the start, he beat Shin and Linda, and that made all the difference. Now everyone will be watching him closely in this exam. We can say that he has become a superstar. It's hard to believe that this guy is only at rank C because he defeated opponents much stronger than him. If it wasn't for his healing skills, he wouldn't even be able to walk, but he's fine now. He doesn't need to relax because Shin is hungry for revenge and revenge. He just left the medical room. He's been examined and healed, so now he's ready to fight and tear the heart out of his enemy's chest. Spectators gathered again to watch the fight. Everyone is interested in watching the confrontation between the favorites. Usually everyone cheers for the already famous participants, so most of them support Tyres. He came back to show that he is the boss here. Not only the other students, but also the judges should understand this. John remained calm and knew what to do. He prepared to demonstrate his talent again. After a few seconds, his abilities were enough to send the Tyre to the floor. At that moment, some kind of deadly aura was activated, causing everyone around to suffer. Even John was having a hard time. He couldn't do anything and was shaking like a child after a nightmare. All this aura was activated by an S-rank hunter. His name is Pak, and he doesn't like it when a little thing forgets how to behave in the exam. This guy is one of the strongest hunters in the New Korea Association, a future hunter of the highest rank. He was surprised when he saw that John was still on his feet. He probably needed to add some of his strength. It was noticeable that it is very difficult for the young man to withstand all this pressure, but he is trying not to fall to the floor. John had heard that the skills of high-ranking awakened as well as active hunters were on a completely different level, but he had never thought that they were so strong. Puck continued to increase his strength. He wants to see if John can withstand what even veteran hunters cannot withstand. At that moment, the representatives of the association ran into the room and started shouting at the pack. They reminded that you can't behave like that with children. These guys and gals only recently finished treatment, so no offense to them. The second phase awaits them. Pak said that he came to talk, not to fight, but he was warned that the president of the association might find out about his actions. Then the professional hunter looked at John and asked his name. It seems that this guy interested him. Pak already heard that John beat Linda and Shin. That says a lot about this young talent. He is satisfied because finally someone really interesting to observe appeared at the exam. He said goodbye to the boy and said that he would carefully follow him in the future. The representatives of the association immediately ran after him in order to make him answer for his actions. Soon it will be time to continue the exam. The second stage will begin soon. The students have been given enough time to rest, so now they have to get back to the hard work. They will enter the location of the second exam through the gate located behind the pack. This gate leads to the rank D dungeon. Most of the participants immediately began to worry. They did not know that they would have to go down into the dungeon, where real monsters live. Every 5 participants who entered the dungeon through the gate form a team. They must explore the dungeons with a hunter who will be assigned as their spotter. During research, every action will be evaluated. All necessary items and weapons will be obtained from the association. Puck asked to take his time and go through the portal of the dungeon one by one. It's quite a challenge for a second round, but even novices should have no problem with an experienced hunter by their side. Of course, if this is not a double dungeon of the Apocalypto, because then a real hell awaits the participants. The Apocalypto double dungeon is on level S, and that's where the participants will go. This is the world's first double dungeon that was found inside a Class D dungeon. Many people, including the first group of researchers, were killed. The consequences led to the escape into undiscovered dungeons. It would be great if this could be prevented in advance, but now there is no point in thinking about it. No one will believe John's words because he has no confirmation. Even if everything is confirmed, he will immediately be the first suspect. If he finds himself in the first group of researchers, then his main task will be survival. He soon stepped inside and saw the members of his new team. A rank hunter will go with them. He is called a sorcerer. He has a special characteristic. He opened the double dungeon of Apocalypto. Soon the team members started clearing dungeons and fighting monsters. Of course, at the first stages they were faced with rather weak opponents, so there were no particular problems. The wizard was pleased with their actions and the cohesion of the team. He noted their fighting spirit even though it was only their first battle. John tried to stay in the shadows and not once again scatter empty words. He was unhappy. There are many teams, but he became a member of the very first team of explorers killed in his past life. Undoubtedly, above the sorcerers is the item that, according to rumors, the dungeon opener wore. The Sage's Ring has a unique rank. It increases strength, stamina, speed, and magic power by 10 points. Now there is no doubt that they are in the double dungeon of the Apocalypto. So far, John can't use the Predator skill, so he has no chance to survive, so you have to act differently. He must do everything so that the Apocalypto is not found, but for this he needs to reactivate his brain to the maximum. Soon they saw two different roads. Until this moment they had no questions about the continuation of the journey. The wizard said that this often happens when exploring dungeons, so now they should vote. At this moment, John sped up and chose one of the paths and ran forward without waiting for the others. He was warned that he cannot do this alone. It is very dangerous and he must return. John is not going to give them a chance to make a decision. He wants them to follow him and not find the Apocalypto dungeon. The team had no choice but to follow him and trust the boy's intuition. Soon they came to a large, bright portal, and they all immediately stopped. Everyone was surprised. They entered the dungeon, but saw another gate. John realized that his plan didn't work because they again approached the double dungeon of Apocalypto. He tried his best to bypass the main path, but still ended up here. The guy immediately understood that he had to act very clearly. He ordered everyone to stand still and not move forward. They must understand that the main gate has been passed, and if they see another portal, they must guess that it is not natural. Such unusual cases should be immediately reported to the association. The sorcerer should know about it better than others. He was also surprised and said that he saw something like this for the first time in his life. He deserves to be told about this to the main headquarters, but for a start, you can go inside and see what is happening there. The magic felt inside this gate isn't as dangerous as it looks, plus it's in a rank D dungeon, so everything is under control. The sorcerer is an experienced hunter and is confident that he can protect others. Perhaps this gate was personally opened by the association to test their skills. If you explore this dungeon, you can get the best points, but John understands that this cannot be done. The sorcerer reminded that John does not know how to work in a team, so no one is going to listen to him. Other players confirmed that John acts without a plan and does not support other team members. So the decision was made. They really want to go inside no matter what. All that remained was to log in and become the team that would open the dungeons of the Apocalypto. Once inside, they were very surprised. Everything around looked quite strange. Now the players are not sure that they are in the rank D dungeon. It seems that they are no longer in a cave, but in some big palace. Ahead you can see a huge statue of some kind of monster. It is really big in size. Now the students are getting worried. They started talking to the wizard to make sure they are in a safe zone. He immediately ordered everyone to order and look around. Now you have to be very careful. Behind the bar, they saw the approach of unknown monsters in masks. These guys look a lot like the statue outside of them. They are armed and determined. Soon the sorcerer will understand that before them are Death Knights of rank A. Now his confidence has completely disappeared. The hunter immediately ordered the students to prepare for battle and defend themselves with all their might. He tried to activate magic to protect the contestants. The Death Knights looked very determined and aggressive. They must have been waiting for fresh blood for a long time. The sorcerer's first attack began to take effect. After all, one should not forget that he is a rank A hunter. The entire team immediately supported the experienced mentor and began to help him. They must attack with fire and bright light to block the monster's view. Everyone acted like a real team, almost everyone, because again, John didn't help others. The Death Knights soon passed out and fell to the floor. Still none of them moved. The participants were satisfied. For defeating such strong monsters, they will receive a large number of points. You probably shouldn't celebrate the victory early because the battle is still not over. There are a lot of Death Knights in this dungeon, and they are all ready to avenge their brothers. John didn't waste any time and walked over to one of the dead monsters to examine it. All this time the battle continued, and the dead Death Knights became more and more. It seemed that this was a good sign, but the dead Knights were replaced by many more monsters. All team members are already tired and barely standing. They will not be able to defend against a new attack. If nothing changes, they will die. But John noticed something strange and wants to talk about it. The wizard looked at him and could not understand how John remained energetic, even despite the loss of strength during the battle. They were all very lucky that John strengthened them with the skill to the heart of the monarch. Without this technique, they would have been dead a long time ago. Now the sorcerer is not sure that John is awakened rank C. It seems that this guy is much stronger than he seems. John said that he has one interesting idea. It seems to him that they are not Death Knights at all. This news was hard to believe. If these are not Death Knights, then who are these monsters? John pulled out a huge sword and said he wanted to go and check his information. He activated the power of the stone skin and ran to attack despite the large number of opponents. His progress is constantly increasing, so he has no problems with self-confidence. In order for this not to happen, he is sure that he will be able to protect himself and survive, even in the most difficult situation. John decided to trick them all and jump over them. This guy always finds interesting solutions to problems. It seems he was heading towards the large statue to attack it with his sword. Soon he did so, although it is still difficult to understand why he did it. As soon as he managed to destroy the brick statue, strange things began to happen to these monster knights. Everything around began to change. It was as if they were in an illusion all this time. This is an illusion ambush. It shows virtual enemies. It can be a strategy to weaken attackers. It was hard to believe that this long and difficult battle was against imaginary opponents, but it is true. The sorcerer can't understand how this young guy guessed that this was an illusion ambush. He never faced Death Knights, but he understood everything. John replied that he has a well-developed intuition, and he is not as weak as it seems to others. After that, he asked them to move on until they died in that cursed cave. The team members and even the experienced hunter had no choice but to listen to John. The illusion disappeared, but the situation did not improve at all. After the discovery of the Apocalypto, the space of the dungeon completely changed. The injuries that were received in the battle with the illusion have become more serious, so they cannot just wait for salvation. If there is at least one chance for salvation, then they must use it and find the exit gate from the dungeon. Soon this gate was finally found, although it took a long time to search. Of course, there is no certainty that this gate will save them, but if they do not take a step forward, they will die anyway. Soon the decision was made. The sorcerer took that step forward and opened the gate. Ahead of them was another Death Knight with a great sword. Very quickly, other warriors appeared behind him, so they will have to fight again against a huge pile of opponents. The team members, just like the professional hunter, looked a little scared and confused. A fire lit up around them and it became clear that they had not reached the exit at all. This place is even worse than the illusion they were in from the beginning. In order to survive in this room, you will have to do something absolutely impossible. The king of the Death Knights turned to the people. He was surprised that these small worms were able to reach this room. This is the Apocalypto's own double dungeon, Death Knight rank S, or simply Death King. Strangely enough, his army did not move at all and seemed to be waiting for something. John guessed that this great king of knights wanted to fight one-on-one. The young disciples immediately began to panic and refuse this duel. Each of them found a reason to avoid the battle. John asked them to calm down immediately and reminded them that their main goal was not to fight at all, but to escape. As soon as they heard these words, they immediately left the sorcerer, the injured comrade, and John, and began to run away. At that moment, the Death King raised his weapon and used magic. His first attack was enough to destroy these fugitives, although it was very brutal. John and the wizard didn't have time to do anything. They just watched as their team members were destroyed. John decided to take advantage of this opportunity and told the wizard that he would try to buy time. He will do this so that the sorcerer can find a way out and get out of this hellish place. It seems the sorcerer has completely different plans as he pushes John away and takes a confident step towards his own death. The boy tried to stop him and understand what he was doing because it was not according to plan at all. The sorcerer ordered him to shut up immediately and reminded him that John was just a small, low-ranking slug. At this moment, the professional hunter decided to tell that he always wanted to become a hunter rank S/. The problem is that no matter how much he trained and improved his skills, he still could not come close to this goal. Now he feels that this is his perfect opportunity. If he destroys this monster, he will receive a reward from the association. In this case, he will be able to become an S-rank hunter, and if he fails to do so, then he has nothing to regret. He activated his sorceress power and struck back at his enemy. Strangely, the wizard still continued to talk to John during the battle. He noticed that this boy was completely different. He also has what it takes to become a legend, but before that you have to survive, so John must take the injured girl and run. A wizard as a true supervisor must be brave and protect the students no matter what, and he is ready to do it. Perhaps this is the role of a sorcerer, to use magic to protect the weak. John was very surprised and even shocked, but I understand that the wizard is saying the right things. The boy cannot delay, because in a few minutes he may not have the opportunity to escape. He returned and saw that the Death Knights had destroyed the sorcerer. This hunter was never able to realize his childhood dream. All the wounded were dead by this point, so John was the last one left. Now his heart is beating as fast as possible, because the boy understands that he is on the verge of life and death. Now he was challenged to a duel. It is unlikely that he has the right to refuse this offer. John tried to stay calm, and as a result he saw something on the ground. He immediately understood that in front of him lay the Ring of Wisdom, which was previously on the sorcerer's finger. The Death Knight swung his sword to cut off John's young head. All this happened quite quickly, but the boy managed to dodge the attack, grab the Ring of Wisdom, and start running away. This ring can be called the only possibility of survival. He hopes that the magic will work and help him. At this moment he was surrounded by monsters. Another second, and John would be completely destroyed. He will be chopped into a million pieces, of course, if the Ring of Wisdom does not save his life. Again, this young talent is very lucky, but that does not mean that he has already won the battle. The King of Death felt an incredible power in his dungeon, nothing like it he had encountered before. The system reported that the Ring of Wisdom is applied. All abilities are increased by 10 points. Now the seal of the Predator is removed, and finally John will be able to activate his best ability. John immediately used the Force and showed the Death Knights that they are no longer the main thing here. Once the Predator skill was activated, they all became prey for that monster. The time required to completely absorb the opponent's forces is approximately 10 seconds. John cannot rely only on the strength of the Predator. He must also use the skills he collected earlier and the accumulated abilities. Now it is necessary to activate everything he has. The only way he will be able to get out of this hell alive. Death Knights. I have never fought anything like this before. It seems that this creature was also born in hell. This did not please the King of Death, so he decided to personally intervene in this situation. For him, this is a personal challenge. He feels that this guy is worth fighting with. The king is the biggest and strongest of all the monsters in this dungeon. He is a real devil and god in one form. With just one wave of his hand, he can make people suffer. John is ready for any plot twist. His dexterity saves even in extreme situations. He realized that he had to stop the king, even though it seemed like an incredible risk. If he takes away his abilities, he will be able to get out of this cave alive. It's a very bold decision, but those who don't take risks will never become legendary. The king admitted that his rival was indeed very strong, but it was not enough to become the new king. This infernal creature continued to press John. It was almost impossible to hide from its attacks. In less than a minute, this battle was over. Now John was at risk of being crushed by the king's feet. Finally, the monster decided to find out from the boy who gave him this power. Meanwhile, the system reported that the resistance to the King of Knights with mysterious power was partially activated. The resistance to the fighting spirit of the King of Knights is also activated, which means that things are not over for John yet. The king still did not understand what was happening. He wanted to understand the nature of this young man's power. Probably, when he learns the answers to his questions, he will regret that he was born. It is not entirely clear what happened, but John again found himself in front of Asmodeus. He looked around and saw the bodies of his team members lying nearby. Behind him was the King of Death. It was as if nothing had changed since then. It is unclear what the nature of this predator power is, and John cannot guess why he began to understand the language of monsters. Only he understands the King of Death. He received this power and abilities, but no one explained anything to him. Nothing has changed since then. He still doesn't know why the king gave him this power. Soon he began to guess who should answer all those questions. Of course, this is the White King. He gave him all these opportunities, although his motivation is unknown. They met again, and the White King admitted that he was impressed by John's talents and character. He asked the boy to come to him, although John stood still as if hypnotized. He saw all this like a dream, but the time had come to return to cruel reality. The King of Death is still waiting for answers to all his questions. He wants to understand where John got this power. He got tired of waiting and prepared to strike the final blow, but things didn't go according to his plan. Some unknown energy knocked the sword out of his hands. It was something powerful and even scary. So John is really going to show off his incredible skills in this flimsy body. It's going to be interesting to watch anyway. John's mana began to increase very quickly. He immediately felt new strength in his body. This last battle has begun, everyone wants to win, and everyone is confident. The King of Death started to attack first and used his incredible magic. He wants to fight royally. It turned out that even this powerful attack was enough to crush this worm, because this worm turned out to be much stronger. The king had always wanted to know the nature of this power, and now he would experience it for himself. John is ready to avenge all the dead members of his team and punish this monster. John's rank rose very quickly. Now he is at rank B. His hierarchy is constantly growing. He attacked his opponent without hesitation, acting quickly, clearly, and powerfully. He fights like a real cruel predator, waits for the perfect moment, and then attacks his victim. That kind of power is hard to fight, and it's almost impossible to dodge such attacks, even if you're the king of the Death Knights. Thus the king was destroyed. Now John registered a new skill, the Spirit of the Night King. Already found out in the outside world, many cars with doctors and police arrived. Experienced warriors understood that this dungeon had a very high rank, so they did not allow anyone to enter. An evacuation order has been given, but it is delayed due to the deformation inside the dungeon. Reinforcements must come quickly, otherwise everyone else will die. It was all too unexpected, so I was even worried. An impression began to form that the breakthrough of the dungeon had begun. Everyone around was blinded by a bright light. Soon someone came out of the portal. In just a few seconds, people noticed that it was the same John. He was covered in blood and looked as if he had been through a real war, but nevertheless, he was alive. Thanks to John's actions, the incident with the double dungeon ended. People managed to evacuate without any major injuries. The results of the second test were determined only on the basis of scores before the evacuation. The bodies of the dead were found and returned to their families. John decided not to tell everyone exactly who cleared the dungeons of Apocalypto. For now, it would remain a secret. Although this may cause criticism from journalists, if the truth is revealed, John may become a target for many evil people. The association constantly talked about this incredibly talented guy. Joseph is trying to understand what the real level should be for a person who has passed the dungeons of the Apocalypto. So answered that it should be a hunter with rank S at least. Since the John's rank is much lower than that, it is difficult to gauge his strength limits. He remains a great mystery to others. This can only mean one thing. This guy has a high probability of becoming a national force in the future. Meanwhile, John fell into an unknown abyss. Everything around indicated that he was in a dungeon. Very quickly, he was surrounded by monsters. It seems that he must destroy them again in order to stay alive. He looked at them and could not understand why they all belonged to different species. Usually in the dungeon, there are monsters of the same species. The guy also tried to understand how he got into this insomnia and what he should do. At that moment, the answers to the questions began to come to him. He looked up and saw the White King. It's the same being that gave him incredible power, and now he's here. The monsters began to aggressively attack the king, but he remained calm despite everything. Therefore, it was enough just to raise your hand up in order to destroy all these terrible creatures. This is already an indicator of his incredible power and strength. John immediately felt this aura. The king turned to the Chosen One. He said that he was waiting for him in the deepest part of the abyss. After that, John opened his eyes and realized that it was all just a dream or an illusion of reality. In any case, he is in a safe place and can now not worry. This whole dream was too colorful to be true. The king said that he would wait for him, but it is difficult to understand exactly what he meant. This power of a predator, which even high-class monsters are afraid of, and understanding their language, all this adds to doubts and misunderstandings. It seems that John has only one way left, to become much stronger and go to the abyss. His characteristics have grown significantly during all this time. He had guessed about it before, but now he was convinced that he had risen to rank B. His ability level is already equal to an S-rank hunter. The spirit of the Night King must have had a huge influence on him. If he continues to progress so quickly, the level of national power will soon be waiting for him. Suddenly he heard a commotion outside the door. It seems that someone wants to enter. Soon the door opened and Mary, the leader of the Night Tramp Guild, entered the room. Soon she took John with her and they got into her car. She asked her driver to sit in the back seat and decided to drive the car herself, considering that she was traveling with a guest. John was trying to understand what the Guild of Night Wanderers had to do with him. Mary explained that she personally wants to look at the one who was able to survive the Apocalypto and then take him home. It is hardly for this reason alone that she decided to personally pick him up from the hospital and take him home. It immediately becomes clear that this is just a cover. Mary began to talk about how the third test, like the first round, is about survival. After John reveals all his abilities and every guild will want to take him to themselves. Of course they will, because it is rare to find a low-rank awakened who can defeat a much stronger opponent. It's a sign of genius, and Mary wants to be the first to make him an offer he can't refuse. Money, fame, she is ready to give him absolutely everything he wants, if only he would become part of the Night Vagabonds. John has to make a tough choice. For starters, he better take his time. The tension in the car was maximum, but after a few seconds the boy replied that he did not want to become part of this guild. Of course, it is difficult to refuse such offers. Mary was surprised, but John made his choice. Soon he was taken home, he thanked for the help and said goodbye. Mary could not understand his refusal. She said that she was ready to raise her salary and do whatever he wanted. She began to constantly offer improved conditions and thereby further pushed the boy away from her. He explained that it was not a mistake at all, and he had no special reason to explain his refusal. He understands that the conditions of the Guild of Night Wanderers are special, but he does not want to become part of them, and he will not do it. After that, he said goodbye to Mary and her driver once more, turned and left. It seemed that everything was over, but it was not so easy to get rid of this girl. She approached him like a leech, grabbed him, and was not going to let go until she understood who he was. A guy who is just trying to become a hunter and rejects one of the best guilds for no particular reason. It's all very strange. Mary decided to keep him alive because she likes him. Seeing and hearing this, her bodyguard asked the mayor to calm down. And let me remind you that this boy is only a high school student. He is too young for such a thing. Then he turned to John and told him not to refuse the opportunity that came to him. In response, the boy only smiled. For the first time, he saw such a hopeless thirst to get what he wanted. John looked at Mary and said he thought her real name was Mary. She could not believe that she really heard it from him. The girl tried to understand where he understood it from, but he did not answer. This situation is very important. It is already obvious from the mayor's reaction. She immediately grabbed the boy by the neck and activated her magic. His words really affected her. The boss of the Guild of Night Vagabonds is actually Maria, not Mary, and almost no one knows about it. She is the illegitimate daughter of the CEO of Yuksung Groups. From the beginning, she was raised as a successor, but a new daughter was born in the family. The name Maria was taken from her, and she turned into an outcast. After that, she changed her last name and became a hunter. Almost no one knows about it. That is why she reacted so strongly when she heard these words from John. She thinks that he has lost his mind because he dared to say this to her face. John felt that he was being attacked, so he activated the resistance of the Amazon spirit, and this resistance worked. He counterattacked with the spirit of the Night King. It was quick and successful. Mary tried to understand what kind of power it was. She thought that she was communicating with a high school student, but she got the impression that it was not quite so. John is still unable to withstand the power of the rank S skill. It pushes him back. Nevertheless, John took a step forward and pinned Mary against the wall. He asked her not to cross the line, and after that he called her Sister Maria. Only now did her personal driver realize that all this was true. He probably needed to get back in the car a long time ago. Soon it was time for the third stage of the professional hunter exam. It will take place in a place that resembles the Colosseum in ancient Rome. Now a huge army of fans has gathered here to see everything with their own eyes. Mary also came to watch John. She dressed as an ordinary person. Of course, John's relatives came here. They are all very worried about the boy, because these competitions will be brutal. His cousin Robert became the president of John's fan club, although the club still has only one member. In any case, this cheerful boy will support his older brother no matter what. Reporter Kim is also here, still on the verge of being fired and must find the perfect news story. Last time, her interview with John was not included in the broadcast due to the fact that he had a low rank. She is upset because if she does not manage to pass this stage and get a good report, then this time she will definitely be fired. This time there was a strange atmosphere in the stadium. Looking down, she saw that everyone was around one participant. Many talented hunters and even veterans of this business have gathered here. It's strange, because they all focused their attention on only one person, obviously John. One gets the impression that all of them are trying to combine their efforts to destroy one, so strong is their opponent. The third round of the exam is starting right now, and the audience should keep their nerves and keep calm. A large-scale battle immediately began. Everyone around seemed to lose their minds and tried to destroy one participant. They agreed to destroy John, and only then decide which of them is the strongest. Their motivation is very simple, because everyone saw how he destroyed two very strong opponents in the first round. John is not going to give in, even with the plot against him. He arranged real rock and roll and showed these fools what he is capable of. At first, it seemed that he would easily beat them all and win the stage again, but this is not quite the case. The ground under his feet gave way and some unknown plant grabbed John. He has never seen anything like it before. This is a new kind of opponent who is sure to be the winner of this exam. He began to tell that he will destroy John and then take the first place. But this is just talk. John very quickly broke all the chains and showed what a real predator in the jungle is capable of. He then turned to the other exam participants and ordered them to attack while he was in a good mood. They are sure that he will get tired sooner or later, so they probably don't know that his endurance is already at another level. John waited for the moment when almost everyone started attacking him at the same time and activated the spirit of the King of Knights. They immediately felt this incredible aura on themselves, such an impression as if they had personally visited the dungeon of the Apocalypto. John did everything possible to give them a tour of this hellish place. The audience was shocked. Even his relatives could not believe that he is at such a serious level. I got the impression that he is an experienced hunter who came here to test the students' skills. Mary watched him, and now she was sure that he really was insane. It was hard to believe that he used this power in front of everyone. It's strange. Usually the most interesting thing is always at the end, but this year the beginning of the third stage was incredible. The clearing was almost complete, but soon John saw that some still remained healthy and almost unharmed. After looking closely, he realized that it was Linda, so she decided to arrange a rematch. John said that she could refuse to fight him and keep her health. If she doesn't, then he is ready right now to repeat what happened in the first round. These words made Linda very angry, and she activated her ice power again. This girl does not know how to give in. She said that John should worry about himself and not about others, because today, a cruel revenge awaits him. She is sure that the situation that happened at the first stage will never happen again. In response, John smiled and said that no one can see the future. They might have to kiss again today. This boy's progress is so fast that even he himself does not have time to understand his new possibilities. This battle did not last long. John again proved to be stronger than his opponent. He admits that Linda is the toughest opponent for him, but even this is not enough to stop the predator. The third stage has been completed. The best student to pass this exam is number 920, John. After the exam, he received a gift from the Player Association Director Joseph. Now John has officially become an S-rank hunter. Of course, no one knew that the third stage would end so quickly, although it is nothing surprising, because before that, John cleared the Apocalypto. The boy smiled and replied that he was just lucky, but of course he understands inside himself that it is not quite so. Soon he was invited to join the New Korea Players Association. John was very surprised. He did not expect that he would be offered to work to make his country better. Everything changes very quickly in his life. He was not awakened and fought with strong opponents, but becoming the first is not enough. Now not only Mary, but also the legendary Joseph, who can be called the best in New Korea, is trying to take him home. John really can't understand what's going on at the moment, but he again declines the offer. Joseph's reaction is quite obvious. He wants to understand the reason for the refusal, but there is no reason at all. Instead of being a member of one of the 4 main guilds or associations, John believes that he will be more effective working alone. In response, the director of the New Korea Players Association began to laugh loudly as if he had completely lost his mind. Joseph could never think that someone would say that he is better off alone than in a guild or association. This shows that John is really incredibly confident in his own abilities, but in this case, Joseph has another proposal. He offered the boy to take part in the legendary Asian-friendly tournament. After a while, John fought monsters again. This guy can't live without adventure. With his current progress and stats, normal monsters are no longer a serious threat to him. That is why clearing any dungeon turns into a routine. However, even while destroying the monsters, he still thinks about the tournament that Joseph told him about. Asian-friendly tournament, a festival where 5 representatives from association and guilds are selected in each Asian country. They compete with each other in hunting monsters and demons, and thereby contribute to the development of the country. It is obvious that this makes them very valuable in their country. They can be compared with national heroes. Joseph was sure that with the help of this tournament, John would be able to make progress even faster. The boy has finally become a hunter. Now he has to fight stronger monsters and demons to live up to the expectations of others. Although he couldn't successfully clear all the dungeons that had opened in the country a month ago, he didn't get any value, and he didn't even make any progress. Of course, all this will be incredibly dangerous, but he must get to the Asian tournament and win it. Let's return to the outside world and move to the estate of the boss of the Tessin Company, Christopher. Lately, he is incredibly unhappy, and he is especially angry about the work of one of the guards. Hundo is still alive. He is trying his best to calm Christopher down and get him to let go of his neck. Christopher is incredibly angry that his son is still in the hospital, and whoever did it wins and becomes an S-rank hunter. After this, it will be difficult to calm down, which is why he beats everyone around, especially Hundo. At that moment, an assistant came to him and said that they had guests from the Thieves Guild. Probably these are the fools who could not destroy John, even after receiving a huge amount of money. Christopher became even more angry and said that they should not have come after such a shameful defeat, and therefore he will punish them. It is better not to make hasty conclusions, because some dark aura has entered the room. It cannot be ignored. The unknown man apologized for everything that happened and said that they are ready to fix it all. Christopher now speaks as the deputy boss of the Thieves Guild. He is called Shadow, and his rank is unknown. In parallel with these events, John finished clearing the dungeon and returned to the real world. He was surprised when he saw that they were already waiting for him, but it was hardly an enemy. Approaching closer, he met a hunter of rank A from the Guild of Alchemists who will accompany him to the auction house. This strange man's name is Mark. He is a member of the John fan base. His main skill is gate control. He began to tell that he has been a fan of John for a long time and watches his every performance. John has heard all these stories a million times. Asia's best auction East Point will take place here. It is also called the biggest event in Asia. The richest people gather there, trying to buy the best goods at the most expensive prices. This auction has many advantages. It is very safe because there is a lot of security around. Since the teleport point changes frequently, you cannot come here without permission. Perhaps thanks to this alone, there has been no security problem during the auction for decades. Of course, this place deserves to be called the best in terms of security, but John is known for something. With the help of his knowledge from his past life, he knows that today there will be a terrorist attack by a rank S demon. Soon the auction was officially started, the first lot being the Phoenix Potion. Just one sip of this potion, and stamina, as well as magical power, increases by 20 points. John remained calm. He only has to wait for the terrorist attack, after which he will have to defeat the demon and gain universal significance. Of course there is a problem. There is too little information about this event, so you have to be very careful. Before the regression, it was only known that the losses at East Point were very serious, and that the main culprit of the terrorist attack was the demon Nero. John is completely unaware of who was able to stop this terrorist act. Although this information would help him, he decided to ask Mark about the people in charge of security in this place. At that moment, other people intervened in their conversation. John had already managed to become famous, so it was not easy for him to go to such events. Here he can meet serious people. They can turn out to be friends, or they can become enemies. He was recognized by a respectable man who came with his students. His name is Shaitan. He is an S-rank Japanese hunter and the CEO of this auction. According to rumors, this legendary warrior killed his colleagues for his own benefit, which is why he was called the Devil. He has already heard that a rare genius has appeared in Korea, and he is very glad that he was able to meet him in person. John shook hands with this master and immediately felt his incredible aura. This is not even an ordinary acquaintance. The impression is that it is something similar to a mental attack. Shaitan began to laugh. It seemed strange to him that such a young guy can withstand such a mental load. John was visibly angry. He did not expect to meet enemies here, except for the demon Nero. This aura made him suffer not only. Everyone who was nearby could not even breathe normally. After that, the devil finally let go of the boy's hand and hugged him in order to say a few words. He hinted that not all rank S hunters are the same in their abilities. Shaitan does not know why John came here, but advises him to stay calm and not do anything bad. After that, he said goodbye and asked John to enjoy the auction. Now there is no doubt that this whole situation will be much more complicated than expected. Now let's pay attention to another meeting, which also has a serious impact on the plot. Serious personalities have gathered here, but it is not like a business meeting in the office. Behind these soldiers is the main office of the control of the warp gate. If someone came here, then they must be destroyed and not let forward. The head guard took out his sword and ordered his assistants to get ready. They must destroy these thieves very quickly. Probably everything did not go exactly according to plan because all the guards were destroyed in a few minutes. This means that it's time to get to know the demon Nero in person. This is exactly what this demonic sorcerer looks like. His people reported that there were some difficulties at the auction. According to rumors, a representative of New Korea, Hunter Rank S. John, has appeared there, and he may interfere with their intentions. Nero replied that all this is just rubbish, and if he wants something, he always gets what he wants. He came here so that no one could escape God's revelation, so people are in danger and all hopes are only on John. In the building where these thieves got into, there was an explosion soon after. All this happened in the middle of an ordinary day, so no one expected a terrorist attack. People were quietly sitting in their seats and enjoying the auction when it happened. The number of dead is unknown, but not everyone managed to survive. Security could not harm this terrorist attack in any way, so for the first time in history, the auction turned out to be very, very dangerous. The explosions were not only in the main auction hall, the entire building was damaged, as well as the building next to it. John survived the explosions because he was prepared for them, but this is only the beginning of his mission. He knew what was waiting for him, but when it all started, John felt some excitement. He cannot understand where the demons have been hiding all this time. Mark tries to evacuate him, but John does not listen to him at all. Soon he finally saw the intruders. So now the enemies have revealed themselves. The battle can begin. People were warned that if they resisted, they would get a hole in the head. John doesn't like people being talked to like animals, so he immediately punishes such thieves. With his sword, he beheaded the bandit leader, and that's just the beginning. In this battle, John uses a talisman, a dagger given to him by Joseph as a sign of congratulations on graduating from high school. Well, she tried to restrain the criminals to the last, although they suffered, but they fought to the last drop of blood. These demon minions have no pity for humans at all. They only enjoy killing others. Today can be called the Day of Death because he took a huge number of people with him. Criminals not only wanted to kill, but also to steal valuable auction lots. Perhaps this was their main mission. After a long search, the Phoenix Potion was finally found, although it had already been sold, but it didn't matter now. Now it is clear why Nero asked to find this potion, even in spite of the danger to his life. You can gain incredible power just by looking at this potion. At that moment, there was a loud explosion in the room. It seemed that someone had played too much with dynamite. Mr. Dyke ordered his warriors to defend themselves and destroy anyone who attacked them. They prepared their swords, but in a few seconds they went to hell. When the Dyke realized that he was being attacked by a person using the invisibility skill, it was already too late. He started screaming in pain within seconds of meeting this invisible monster. With the help of his chains, the Dyke caught his opponent and prepared to take revenge. He does not like those who attack and hide his face, so the punishment will be very cruel. John was surprised. He realized that the Dyke has a skill that allows you to track enemies in stealth mode. Everyone needs such skills, so the Predator mode was turned on in order to take away this useful skill. There were a lot of dead people in the main warp gate control office, as well as a large number of hostages. All of them were surrounded by a huge number of monsters that came to this world in order to destroy everything around them. The demon was not satisfied. Everything is going according to his plan, so now those who believe in God will be even more afraid of his existence. All he had to do was get the Phoenix Potion. At that moment, an assistant approached him and said that a message had come from the Dykes. Demon was informed that there was some problem, and he was given a receiver to talk. John was talking to him on the other side. He told Nero that he had taken the Phoenix Potion for himself and was not going to return it. John said that if Nero wants his potion back, he must come to him, so this is a challenge to a duel. It's obvious that John wants to use this potion to improve his stamina and magical power. The power of the Phoenix will give him the ability to fight the demon on an equal footing. He had traveled many dungeons in search of something like this, but he only found it here. Now you cannot worry that this precious potion will fall into the hands of bad people, such as the devil. He went downstairs and saw that all the guards and thieves were dead. Of course, he did not come alone, but with his disciples. He was informed that the last contact with John was right here, and the devil immediately felt his presence. He said that this guy did not run away. He was in front of them all this time, and now he will show himself. John appeared and smiled. He thought the invisibility technique was perfect, but it wasn't. John reminded that the devil should be responsible for security, but it turns out that he is the most dangerous in this building. In response, he heard only laughter. Now it is clear that the devil came to find the Phoenix potion. Despite the fact that there were many high-ranking hunters in the building, they could not find the bomb, which is very surprising. It is impossible to enter East Point without permission, so John expected that there would be a traitor among the visitors. Of course, it turned out to be rather strange that the general director of the company, the devil, would be the traitor who went over to the side of evil. This thief smiled again and asked the young warrior to remain calm in this dire situation. After that, almost instantly he was out of sight, so John had to get ready because he was in danger. Our main character understood this perfectly, so he managed to get his dagger and defend himself from the attack. Shaitan is trying to take the Phoenix potion. This fool still doesn't understand that this potion is no more. The sorcerer must use all his strength in order to defeat John, although there are no guarantees that he will be stronger than this guy. The other warriors didn't even think to interfere when the high-level masters were fighting, preferring to quietly watch and enjoy the battle. Besides, this battle really turned out to be very interesting. John defended himself in the first minutes, but then he started to counterattack. John guesses the approach of the enemy only by sounds and feelings of menace. It is very difficult for him to defend himself, because this sorcerer can see him perfectly with the help of his magical abilities. This gives him a minimal advantage, but at this level a minimal advantage can be enough to win. They have similar invisibility skills, however. The difference in their skills becomes apparent. It's time to remind that John drank the Phoenix potion, which means that he can use his powers in a double effect. Everyone around immediately felt this incredible aura of the King of Knights. Now no one makes fun of this young hunter. John must have used it to find his invisible opponent, and he succeeded. Now he has angered the devil, and this sorcerer wants to show his full potential. This battle was not heard on the upper floors, several meters of concrete between them. But even that did not survive this battle, because when two hunters of the extra class meet, everything around starts to fall apart. Shaitan showed his potential and pinned John to the ground. Now he took out his sword and prepared to kill the boy. At the last moment, the chains restrained him. John smiled, and with all his appearance showed that he was in control of this situation. He kicked the wizard and broke the distance between them. It was all just his plan. John used the skill not at all to find the devil, but to prevent him from escaping beyond the radius of action. Now the time of reckoning has come. The devil has accepted himself too arrogantly and must pay for it with his own health. This young warrior was not to be underestimated. It cost him too much. Soon the battle was over. They made a lot of noise, but it was over. Single-handedly, John defeated this entire team of sorcerers and imprisoned them along with Shaitan. The guy hopes to hear and understand why a person with a huge amount of money decided to become a criminal. These words angered the sorcerer even more. He ordered John to shut up, otherwise he would be left speechless. Probably the devil has completely forgotten that he is bound and can no longer threaten anyone with anything. Too many words for an ordinary assassin who sold himself to the forces of darkness. Everyone already knows about the terrorist attack. Many associations in every country are trying to send help here. When it happens, the demons will be destroyed. Shaitan began to laugh when he heard these words. He understood that John did not know anything. So there is something that this young hunter did not think about and that he could not foresee. Joseph and the entire New Korea Players Association have already reported the situation. They were all very excited and scared, especially the master of the Alchemist Guild, Mr. Not only the items from the guild are up for auction, there are also many serious guests from New Korea, and now they are all in danger. As soon as Joseph learned about the terrorist attack, he immediately organized a support unit to the place. This is an elite unit of hunters under the leadership of an experienced pack warrior. They must complete all tasks. Now there is no way to get into the middle of the building because there are some difficulties. When the East Point Warp Gate Control Office was taken over by demons, all the gates were immediately blocked. Nevertheless, I'm sure everything will be fine. There are 2 S-rank hunters in the building right now. The representatives of the association and the guild do not yet know that the devil turned out to be a traitor, so they hope that he, together with John, will save the situation. During this conversation, Mary entered the room. Let's remind you that she is the leader of the Guild of Night Vagabonds. Meanwhile, John was talking to the devil about a contract with the devil, an unusual topic for conversation. Contract with the devil is Nero's strongest skill. He can make sacrifices and summon high-level monsters. Only now did John realize that all these hostages would become victims of the demon. That's why they weren't killed from the very beginning. It is not known how, but Mary also knows about it and has come to tell it to other decision-makers. Their reaction was about the same as John's. They were all shocked and excited after hearing it. Demon Nero now has at least 100 hostages, so he will be able to summon a huge number of monsters. In that case, disaster is inevitable, so if John and everyone else want to stop it, they have to act very decisively. Shaitan believes that even if John was able to defeat him, he would still not be able to prove himself stronger than Nero. Now John must choose, or watch innocent people die, or fight a battle in which there is no chance of winning. An incredible opponent in terms of characteristics, so a battle with him is almost guaranteed death. The hostages still did not understand what would happen to them next. They hoped that they would be exchanged for money or valuable items. It was reported to the demon that the devil does not respond and does not communicate, so something happened to him as well. It is also already known that John took the Phoenix potion and now his whereabouts are unknown. Nero is not at all worried about all this. He knows that in a personal battle, he will not lose to anyone. He brought one of the hostages closer to him and said that if John did not want to come out to them, they would force him to come. Soon the light went out in this great hall. Nero did it in order to cause people to panic. The victim he had under his control disappeared in almost a second. Soon John appeared behind the demon. He realized that he could not wait any longer and decided to take a risk by coming here. Nero managed to dodge his attack in time and prepared to strike back. Now he can finally show his potential. This wizard really is as strong as they say. John very quickly realized that it would not be an easy walk for him. He would have to work to win. Soon everything around was surrounded by fire. Probably all demons love large-scale special effects. Even in Nero's head, monsters are hidden. It's even hard to imagine what he hides in his pockets. Nero knows that he is fighting with a boy whose name is John, but he cannot understand why he decided to die so early. People around began to beg the guy to save their lives. They have been waiting for help for a long time and have already stopped believing in salvation. I had to make them shut up because even though they are not guilty of anything, they are only getting in the way now. At this moment, monsters started attacking John, of course. They were summoned by a demon because he does not want to do dirty work. All of them are very hungry and want to taste delicious human meat. John was able to dodge their attacks and readied his weapon to cut them to pieces. After he received the skill of the King of Knights in the double dungeon of the Apocalypto, he is no longer afraid of anything. Of course, the monsters are much larger than him, and they also have a numerical advantage, but his skills are on a completely different level. In the beginning, he will have problems, but sooner or later, he will adapt to their weaknesses and find a way to victory. All these monsters are related to the demon through a contract with the devil. They are much stronger than other monsters in the dungeons. Now they are all under Nero's rule and obey only his orders. They feel its magical power and become stronger than their relatives, much stronger. That is why John could not destroy them on the first try. He expected that the monsters would be the same as in the dungeon. Just because John defeated the devil, he should not think that he can go against the will of God. People watched their last hope fight with monsters and lost faith in success. When they first saw John, they already mentally imagined how they would relax at home, but now they again met with cruel reality. On the other hand, because of John, the hunters and monsters were distracted from the hostages, and so far they are not in any danger. Although John had to retreat back, he did not run away, and he does not let any monster hostage. This makes it clear that he came here to save another life, like a true noble knight. All the hostages started rooting for John with tears in their eyes. They are not stupid and understand that he is their last hope. With every minute of the fight, this young talent adapts more and more to his opponents and seizes the initiative. With the help of his chains, he grabs them by the neck and forces them to suffocate. John is as angry as possible. This day turned out to be much more difficult than expected, but if not him, then there is no one else to save people. The problem is that the monsters do not end at all. Sometimes it even seems that with every minute, there are more and more of them. Nero saw how his opponent went mad with rage. He understood that this was a good sign and believed that the boy would soon surrender. In such a critical situation, all that remains is to call a support group for help, and John has one interesting idea. He called the stamp guard, who had been by his side all day. Let us remind you that this guy is a rank A hunter. He was a little late, but now he is ready to help and save the hostages. This guard has to play an important role in this story if it wants to end well. Half an hour ago, they met with John on the lower floor. Then John told him that Satan and his men had been found traitors. John explained that the main problem now is that the main gate control office is full of monsters. If they were ordinary demons, things would be much easier, but monsters cannot observe such a situation. They want to eat, and when they see a huge number of hostages, they immediately start preparing for dinner. That's why John turned to Marquez, because he has the skill of gate management, which is incredibly needed today. Mark explained that he could not contact the Players Association because he did not know the exact point of deformation. The young talent explained that it doesn't matter now. The main thing is to destroy the monsters. Everything else is nuances. That is why John came on time and started doing his favorite thing. No, I don't mean eating donuts on his couch. He started operating dungeon gates. Nero very quickly guessed that something was not going according to plan. He did not like it at all. He couldn't do anything for now. All he could do was watch the huge number of monsters fall back into the abyss. When Mark first heard this plan, it seemed to him that these were just fairy tales and fictions of a high school student, and it would not work. Now it is hard to believe that this plan really turned out to be almost perfect. After the monsters returned to the abyss, it was time to destroy their leader, Nero. John turned to Mark and said that he had already played his part in this story. Now he must take the hostages with him and immediately get to a safe place. John will stay here and fight the demon. They are on the same level, so in this battle, all sides have a chance to win. These impudent words of a young and self-confident boy angered the demon. He took this challenge as an insult. This is exactly what John was expecting. He knew it would not be easy, but his preparation gives him additional confidence. Although Mark wanted to help his new friend, I understand that now he should really think about rescuing the hostages. When John saw that all these people were now safe, he felt relieved. Now he can concentrate on the battle. He was only distracted for a second, but it was enough to set the entire building on fire. The battle was started. Nero, being the elder demon, decided to attack first and kill this worm without much expectation. He believes that he is fighting too young a guy, so he should win as easily as possible. It is immediately clear that Nero makes a classic mistake. He underestimates John too much. He probably has a right to it. His skills and abilities are at a high level, but it can play a bad joke on him. We are already used to John losing in the first rounds, but then, like a phoenix, he rises from the dead and gnaws away the victory. History repeats itself again. So far, it is very difficult for John to defend against all those powerful attacks. For it is important how many monsters this guy destroys, because death awaits him anyway. A few minutes ago, John was smiling and trying to anger his opponent. Now the situation has changed somewhat. Nero feels invincible. He called his defenders and ordered them to eat the boy. At such moments, you understand why he is called a demon. He was really born in the devil's world. John must quickly get back on his feet and regain his strength, because the hunt for his head has already begun. Even in the most difficult situations in his life, John does not stop smiling and joking. He said that he would still be able to kill Nero, even if he was completely powerless. After these words, he summoned the skill of a predator and decided to demonstrate what he was capable of. Finally, this arrogant old grandfather will understand that he underestimated the younger generation of land hunters. All this time, John has been hiding his true power, but now he has revealed his cards. This legendary battle deserves an audience around. Unfortunately, there are only 2 of them in this hall. Nero admitted that he underestimated the opponent, but now he understands that the hunter John is the best victim for the monsters. Not only was John hiding his strength all this time, Nero was also fighting at half his capacity. He activated some unknown spell, and strange things began to happen to his people. Soon, a huge green demon, also called a bone dragon, appeared near John. In any case, there is a lot of fun in this building today. This event will go down in history. The guard of stamps was engaged in rescuing people. His task is simple. He must take her to a safe place. This turned out to be not such a simple task, because Nero's assistants happened to be on their way. It seemed that it was impossible to avoid a big battle, but at that moment something happened behind these thieves as well. They were destroyed in a few seconds. Probably the demon Nero took their power for himself. I realized that something extraordinary is happening on the upper floor. He would like to be close to John and help him in this difficult moment, but he is busy with other things right now. John would definitely not refuse help now, because it is very difficult for him to defend himself against such a huge monster. This old grandfather turned out to be very energetic for his age, and he was not going to give up. So far, John was losing this battle. He did not know that he would have to fight not only with the demon, but also with his monster. This dragon attacked him almost without stopping. As soon as the boy got up, he immediately had to defend himself from a new attack. He doesn't even have time to come up with a winning strategy. The brutal beating continued for 10 minutes, but then John tried to seize the initiative. He did not forget that he also has extraordinary abilities, so it is necessary to strike back. His predator aura should be stronger than this bone-stuffed animal. Already tried to attack, but the dragon successfully defended against his attacks and struck back with powerful blows. It is unlikely that anyone will be able to restore this building in the near future. Today it has suffered serious damage. Demon Nero was surprised. He did not expect that John could survive after such an attack. No matter how difficult it may be, the predator's power supports the health characteristics of its owner, especially at critical moments. John felt that his opponent was extremely strong. He was barely able to block the attack using all his strength. It is hard to believe that they are both on the same level. Over time, John began to guess that if a demon is forced to control such enormous power, then he is also in danger. There is no doubt that this old man is almost at the limit of his capabilities. This means that if you delay and continue the battle, John will have a good chance to win. Of course, it's easy to talk rather than act, because when you're fighting such a powerful monster, every minute brings you closer to death. Nero understood the boy's plans. He replied that such tricks do not work on him. All these events were watched by Mark, together with the rescued hostages. They were shocked, especially after the monster stopped attacking John and turned its attention to them. He instantly approached the room in which they were and began to attack. In the New Korea Players Association, all attention is now focused on the demon intervention situation. Soon the emergency gate was connected. The coordinates of the East Point were established. Now the New Korea is the only country that still remains in touch. No matter how strong Hunter John is, if anyone enters this gate now, they will be in extreme danger. The hunter said that they did not care. He ordered his team to be confident and step forward. They have to find and save people's lives, because that's why they became hunters. Surely people from the association understand that every second can cost human lives. After the attack of the monster, not everyone managed to survive, but when some of the people came to their senses, they saw that John was still fighting for her life. He protects ordinary people with his own body and health. This is probably how a real hero should behave. It is not easy for him, because in front of him stands a huge monster controlled by a demon from hell. Mark tried to stop John and asked him to run immediately while he had the chance. In part, Mark is right. If John is not able to fight the monster one-on-one, then it remains to find another way out of the situation. Of course, running away is not an option at all. It is better to wait until the demon has spent all its strength and energy. He can't give up yet. You have to find the right way to win if it wasn't difficult. It seemed that John had reached the limit of his capabilities. At that moment, everything around him seemed to darken, and he heard a familiar voice. This voice said that he could no longer observe, although there were only injured people and Mark around him. Suddenly, the system reported that the predator's wounds were temporarily revised, the limits of strength were overestimated, and the body could not resist the predator's power. This means that at the current moment, John rises to the level of a predator of the SS rank. At first, the demon Nero calmly observed this, but then he felt that the boy's aura was changing. In just a few seconds, his ability boost reached the highest possible rank. It is now impossible to cancel the predator skill. His body has never been so strong. The voice that spoke to him belonged to the White King. It was he who gave John strength at a critical moment. At the beginning, it seemed to the boy that he was dying. He again thought that he was dying without meaning. Nevertheless, his body was completely restored. All wounds were healed, so he does not die at all, but on the contrary, becomes stronger. At first, the demon also believed that his own aura had eaten John from the inside. He was already preparing to celebrate the victory. He saw how the boy could not withstand the load and lost consciousness, but for some reason, the surrounding aura of the predator did not stop. Where did he tell you that if John does not want to bow to God, then a cruel death awaits him? After these words, the boy stood up, although his consciousness was still in a fog. After a few seconds, it turned out that John had also summoned his pet. It turned out to be much larger than the green bone dragon. It felt like it was the devil's personal dog. Now Nero no longer laughs. Probably his good mood has gone somewhere. In such a formation, John really becomes the embodiment of God. Even a demon has never seen such power. It seems that he was able to reach the limit of possibilities thanks to death, because the living are not capable of such a thing. John looked at his enemy and raised his hand to activate his power. After a few seconds, there was not even a wet spot left by Nero and his monster. The system informed John that a new skill was registered, a contract with the devil, and after that he was in a dark place. He could not understand what was happening, only that he was fighting with a demon, and now he was bound by chains. He felt the paralysis of stone skin, and if he didn't try, he couldn't do anything. Something very strange was happening around, although there were no explanations yet. John tried to activate his skills, but suddenly he heard a voice saying that these skills did not belong to him. If he has forgotten, then he must spit out everything he has absorbed in recent months. After a second, he opened his eyes and realized that he had fallen from his bed. Only now did he realize that it was a dream. There are no injuries, and the right hand that he lost during the battle is now in place. At that moment, he saw that a hunter pack came to him. This is how the meeting has been since the morning. They went to the next room to have breakfast. This apartment was organized for John by the association and the alchemist. This is a response to a terrorist incident, thanks to which John was able to arrest the devil and his men. It was a very dangerous terrorist attack, but despite this, many people survived, so John became a hero. His relatives, as well as the president of the association, had already visited him. They were all concerned about his health. According to the preliminary results of the tests, John has no health problems, but he stayed with him because he was afraid that demons might come to him. John looked at his hand and thought that he lost his mind during the battle with Nero. He doesn't remember what happened there at all. He expected that he would tell him everything again, but it turned out that this hunter also knew nothing. Only the guardian of the stamps watched this battle, and he saw the original of this story. He understood that John was standing in front of him, but when he looked more closely, he realized that this was not the boy he knew. It seemed to him that some demon had entered John's body. That is the only way to explain his appearance and strength. After that, this demon attacked Mark and caused him serious health problems. Soon it became clear that this is the limit of this body, so the demon no longer wants to stay in John's body. This was roughly the scenario of the last minutes of the battle in this building. After that, the gates opened and association hunters entered to rescue the survivors. Although all of them were seriously injured, most of them managed to survive. Now people are unconscious, but their lives are not in danger. The whereabouts of the other demons and Nero were unknown, but few thought about it now. Association hunters looked around and tried to understand what happened here. After that, Pak talked to the people who survived. All of them remember only that John tried to stop the demon. No one said anything specific. It was as if someone interfered in their thoughts. In any case, John should regain his strength and be careful in the future. The mission is now complete. Now John must unravel this mystery himself, and he hints that Nero could have taken up residence in his soul, but this seems impossible. John also can't understand how his hand regenerated, even though it was completely destroyed due to the too strong activity of the Predator's aura. A contract with the devil can open the gate to the abyss, and this scares John. This technique is called summoning monsters, but it's better not to think about it now, because a few more have come to John. Puck opened the door and let Linda into the room. She did not come empty-handed and took a lot of fruit with her. John was very surprised when he saw this girl in front of him. He did not know that she was worried about his life. Maybe there is something between these two, but it's too early to tell. They started talking, even though John didn't have time to clear the table after Puck left. Linda heard that he was seriously injured, but she is glad to see that he is doing well. She also already knows that he saved many lives after the terrorist attack. After that, she said that she had heard about serious opponents he had fought, and that she thought he had become too cocky. John remained calm and tried to understand why Linda came to him in the first place. At first she came here because she was excited when she found out that he was injured, but she did not expect to see that he was all right. She feels an unreal aura around this boy and realizes that some strange things are happening to him. Compared to the hunter test, he really changed and became much stronger. At that moment, they heard how the door of the room opened, so an uninvited guest entered. They didn't have to be very scared because it turned out that Mary, Linda's sister, had come. They immediately began to quarrel. Linda does not understand why Mary came to John. Mary asked Linda to calm down and explained that she came to make sure that everything was fine, and the password to the door was given to her by the association. It was all very strange, especially after Mary came up to John and grabbed him like a doll. Linda was scared and tried to understand what her sister wanted to do with him. Mary replied that two high-ranking hunters live in the same house, so it's obvious what the relationship is between them. This made Linda blush with embarrassment, but she did not stop and asked her sister to calm down. John is also unhappy. Will he be persuaded to join the guild again, although he has already refused it more than once? Mary replied that she came to check on his health, and she also had a present for him. She has already been to the president of the association and knows that John is going to take part in the Asian tournament. Despite all this activity at East Point, he is still ranked 30th, so he is not guaranteed a ticket to the tournament. That is why she is ready to give him the right to clear the double dungeon of the Fire Temple. After the terrorist attack, the East Point building was completely destroyed, but it is still an interesting place for research. According to rumors, the building kept its shape for several hours after the terrorist attack, but then collapsed due to all this damage. Some have come to see it with their own eyes. They will not be in a hurry to tell about this leadership because the goal has already been achieved. These masked people talked about money and mercenaries and did not look around at all. In a few seconds, a huge ship approached them and they were informed that they were surrounded. Only East Point investigation staff can enter this area and no one else. Therefore, these sorcerers must immediately lay down their weapons and surrender. The captain of the ship overestimated his capabilities too much. Because of this, he, together with his crew, very quickly ended up in the water. His ship also sank. That's what happens when you meet the wrong people. These evil characters have incredible power and are also very interested in John. Now let's move to the head office of the Guild of Night Wanderers. This building is a real work of art. It has already been reported that John is participating in the strategy. He is a hero and a new star of the country. Many people gathered to see this talented hunter with their own eyes. They will give him the right to clear the dungeon, and after that they will determine the distribution of items and raid participants. This gift was very unexpected. Clearing the dungeon of the Fire Temple is an incredible chance. The Temple of Fire is the second double dungeon in New Korea, so named because the entrance to the dungeon resembles a burning flame. Before the regression, the Night Wanderers Guild was successful in the sweep, but was close to being completely destroyed. Given the risk, it's safe to say that there will be a huge advance in John's overall value. Perhaps due to the destruction of his right arm, his strength and endurance indicators decreased significantly, so he thought that the new task was too difficult. However, he became more confident because he has the mayors and all these people around him, so they can't lose when clearing the double dungeon. If it were not difficult, but all these nuances give him additional faith in his own strength. There are about 300 people who will not participate in the cleaning of the fire temple. All of them wish success to the cleaning team. There will only be 2 people in the attack group of the fire temple. Obviously, John and Mary. Everyone believes in their talents and capabilities, although they understand that not a double dungeon is an incredible risk. John tried to understand why they were going together. Mary answered that they had a date in the dungeon. Soon they entered inside and finally found themselves in the legendary dungeon. John immediately saw that everything around looked almost the same as in the Apocalypto, where he had already been before. They have to figure out how to go down, and also remember to be careful, or it could be an ambush with monsters. As soon as John said these words, unknown tentacles grabbed Mary and the girl fell into this gorge. Jonah expected that it would not be easy, so he immediately prepared his weapon and jumped after her. Monsters always appear at the most inopportune moment. That's their nature. At first John was worried, but then he saw that Mary was smiling. Probably she was pleased that they had found a way to get down. It is still too early to celebrate. There are a huge number of monsters waiting for them who want to eat them. Although Mary is a girl, her strength and fighting skills are not inferior to most men. She is a real professional in her field, and if necessary, is ready to do all the dirty work with her own hands. She enjoys her power, and her eyes sparkle when she meets monsters. John was very surprised to see how she works. There are strong and powerful monsters around, but she destroys them with one blow. Last time she didn't show him all her abilities, although he knew she was very strong, but he didn't expect to see such power. However, now that it was clear why they came here with only the 2 of them, John should also put in his efforts to clean up. Soon the first pack of monsters was destroyed. Almost all of them were killed by Mary's blows. The pit turned out to be quite deep, but they successfully went down. There were a lot of monsters, but none of them caused serious problems for the mayor. All this seems strange, because John does not understand why the Guild of Night Wanderers was on the verge of destruction in the past. A warrior's ring was found almost immediately. It has a unique rank and gives extra strength and stamina. With the help of this item, you can restore the characteristics that fell after the destruction of John's right arm. Mary gave the boy not only this item, but also promised much better treasures. It remains only to understand why she does all this. John asked her to follow him because it seems he found something interesting. It soon became apparent that they had finally reached the place where the master of this double dungeon lives. When they got closer, they saw a huge egg of unknown rank. John has no idea what kind of monster is waiting for them, but the battle with him will not be easy. The guy asked Mary to stay put and gather additional information, but Mary is too restless a woman. He had not yet had time to prepare, as she had already started to act, so it is not sad with her. She approached this large egg and began to attack it. John tried to understand why this woman always does everything according to her own plan, and does not work in a team. In any case, so far she is doing well. Mary destroyed the egg and even managed to make a joke about it. In terms of strength, it was most likely an S-rank monster, mid-range or lower. She didn't expect to be able to destroy it in one hit. John looked at the broken egg and wasn't sure that she was really able to destroy this monster. After that, they were blinded by a very bright light. Probably not everything is as easy as it seemed. Soon they heard the monster's voice. He did not expect that these small slugs would manage to reach here. They are probably very interesting characters, and he will be very pleased to destroy them on his own. So they met with the owner of the double dungeon of the fire temple. This monster is a real phoenix. You can already tell from the hunters' faces that they are not very happy to see this creature. The phoenix is a monster with such incredible powers of regeneration and resistance to magic that it can even be safely called an immortal being. John understood that the owner of the double dungeon was a phoenix, and an unusual phoenix, and a monster with blue fire. John immediately warned his partner that this phoenix was able to control the minds of others. It's too late to give her advice, because now Mary is under the control of the phoenix, so she becomes an enemy as well. She started attacking John. Now this girl can't control her body at all. The phoenix is doing it instead of her. John realized that he got into a very difficult situation. He not only has no assistant, but now he has an additional enemy. I had to activate my strengths to stop the mayor. John tried to calm her down and tell her that they should work as a team, but she didn't listen to him at all. Mary is a very strong hunter. This has already become an obvious fact after we saw how she destroys monsters. Phoenix enjoyed watching these two kill each other. He thinks humans are incredibly stupid creatures. Mary's attack was very powerful. For a while it even seemed that she was able to kill John. Of course, it is too early to draw such conclusions. Even the demon Nero could not kill this guy. Very quickly, John was able to imprison this aggressive woman with the help of his chains. Now he finally guessed what happened in this dungeon before his regression. He understood who destroyed the squad that came to defend this dungeon. Mary did it. She also lost her mind and killed all her team members. Although it will hurt a little, but she will have to endure it because there is no other way out. After John's blow, she lost consciousness. Finally, it will be possible to be calm for a while. Chains and paralysis won't work for long. You'll have to try to get her back to normal when she wakes up. If John destroys this phoenix before she wakes up, he hopes that Mary will not be offended. This blue bird likes fun. The phoenix took over Mary's mind just to laugh with John. This chicken has no right to behave like this with people. It's time to chop off her head. John tied Mary to himself and went to fight with her strangely, but he better know how to do it. Phoenix can't understand what this guy is doing. Maybe he's lost his mind too. In any case, this is John's choice. He will have to fight Mary on his back. There is no other way out. The boy's first attack turned out to be quite weak. The Phoenix expected much more serious resistance. His body is made of fire. No matter how many attack him, he is ready to burn any attack. Phoenix is sure that such a weak human body will never be able to defeat true blue fire in its life. John hoped to defeat the monster while Mary slept, but without her help, it would be very difficult to do so. You only have to save yourself from the opponent's attacks and hide in safe places. Even if he has a legendary Phoenix in front of him, his ability to regenerate is still too strong. Even Wolverine and Deadpool would like to have this ability before regeneration. John did face the Great Phoenix, and now he doesn't know what to do next. Some monsters are called big. Unlike normal monsters, they are mutants with incredible strength. To distinguish them from other monsters, a large S+ rank is added to the existing title. If it really is a large phoenix, then with John's current skills, it is impossible to destroy its ability to regenerate. If there is even a minimal chance of this, it's just using the Predator skill. But something similar to last time could happen. John is willing to use the Predator just to deliver the final blow. But without this aura, he has no chance of victory. He needs to make the right choice. It was at this difficult moment that Mary woke up. She does not understand why he wrapped the chains. Probably the mind belongs to her again. John very quickly explained that now was not the time to panic, because they were being watched by a great phoenix. Only now did the girl realize that her mind was being controlled all this time. She promised never to make such mistakes again and asked John to let her go. Meanwhile, the phoenix was approaching his dinner. He doesn't like them talking to each other in his presence. Now this mount wants to show them what he can do, but these hunters aren't going to give up without a fight either. Now they have joined forces again and will fight together, and this is a double advantage. The battle of the Blue Flame against the high-ranking hunters, it really deserves attention. John activated the Monarch's heart skill. Now his team's abilities have been increased. This means that not only he will get additional indicators, but also Mary will be able to use it. She took out her weapon and turned into a true god of war and asked John to leave the dirty work to his sister. This can only mean one thing. Berserker mode is on. The incredible Amazon will now show her potential. Activating all skills through an outpouring of magical power is called a surge. Most hunters try to avoid this method because it can cause serious damage to your body. But if you can control this power even for a while, you will gain power beyond human imagination. Mary now did not care at all about the strength of her opponent. She attacked him non-stop as if he were a small worm. Even John did not expect to see something so grandiose. Now it is clear that one must be more careful with the Amazons. After a huge explosion of Mur lost consciousness, she controlled the incredible power for quite a long time. But now she needs a rest. Phoenix was very angry and decided to use this opportunity to take revenge. He was close to eating Mary, but the fiery chains grabbed his neck. There is always a way to destroy even such incredible regeneration abilities. Although Mary did all the dirty work, John will have to make the final blow. The people in the Night Wanderer Guild were worried about the sweep team. They should have been back a long time ago. Everyone knows that as soon as the guild boss starts fighting monsters, she loses her mind due to aggression. Because of this, there was the main excitement, but soon they saw that someone came out of the portal. Taking a closer look, everyone realized that John was carrying Mary in his arms. He calmly announced that the fire temple was cleaned. This moment was photographed by reporters. Soon the whole world saw a new hero. Everyone was writing about the romance and the mysterious rendezvous in the dungeon, and the mayor didn't like the news when she woke up. She started shouting at her assistants and tried to understand who leaked this information. The dungeon raid was supposed to be confidential. This information was not supposed to reach the journalists. After that, Mary began to laugh nervously and suggested that they die together today. A little later, the leader of the association entered her room. He had also heard all this news. He was a little surprised to see the atmosphere in this chamber. Probably the mayor was too angry because of all this news. Joseph offered her a breath of fresh air and to talk about the extraordinary surge of energy in the dungeon. The girl said that she trained a lot to control her energy, so she can activate emergency mode for a while without any problems. After that, the leaders of the association began to ask about John's abilities. The girl said that when she lost her energy, John personally defeated the Phoenix, although she did not see it. It's only been 2 days since clearing the fire temple, but he's already gone to the abyss. This guy is really incredible. Traveling to the depths of the abyss will give him the opportunity to make great progress, but Joseph is not sure that this is the right decision for the new career. Mary replied that she also does not understand John very well. This guy is sometimes unpredictable. Everyone has a desire to climb, but after you reach a high level, there is a feeling of satisfaction and you take a break. It's strange because John has no hint of wanting to take a break. Even now, he's trying to continue his ascent up the mountain. It's hard to understand John's motivation to keep getting stronger. Joseph replied that he had his own opinion about it. He thought that John was too full of patriotism. This era is full of cruel monsters and evil. So John decided to protect his country and survive this era. This is his motivation. Let's move to the depths of the abyss. There is always something to see. A huge number of monsters inhabit this area. It is almost impossible for ordinary people to live here even for a minute. This is the main chamber of the Prince of the Abyss. He is called Igman. He is a vampire lord. He looked at his guest and said that they were ready to talk about the blood oath. Everyone wants to get the power of the vampire clan, but this chance only falls to the special ones. Such a chance fell to a Chinese hunter today. His type is a fighter, and his name is Donald. The way to the abyss can be found, especially if there is such a desire. John first walked into the place after the regression took place and was immediately welcomed inside. He was approached by a member of the World Hunters Association. He is responsible for managing Area 22 in the depths of the abyss. His name is Paul Becker. He is a rank A hunter, and he meets all the newbies in this place. He very quickly studied the records and realized that John had descended into the abyss for the first time. In this case, they must find hunters who will be willing to act as guides and mercenaries. The World Hunter Association creates bases everywhere, which are safe spaces, also called hunter zones. These zones are created to help in research, but do not forget that the depths of the abyss are very dangerous. This means that even if you are a high-ranking hunter, you still need protection, but John doesn't think so. He said that he did not need protection because he could protect himself. Just at that moment, a huge earthworm attacked him. Becker immediately tried to warn his guest of the sudden danger. He was very surprised when in a few seconds John destroyed this ugly monster with his own hands. He assured the guide that everything will be fine, and he needs to walk in this place for a while. He soon managed to destroy a veritable army of monsters, although he had only just begun his research. Thanks to the absorption of the Great Phoenix in the Fire Temple, he can now fulfill the activation conditions of the contract with the devil. Soon he checked the information and saw that the contract had changed. Now it was not meant to control the monster, but to create a gate, just like with Nero. This skill turned into a one-time thing. Maybe it all happened due to the influence of a predator. Instead of constantly carrying a large number of monsters with you, you need to find one powerful exhibit. John decided to use the Mana Boost Stone. This item boosts your mana with magical properties. The contract with the devil has been activated and the gate is open. It looks very scary, but interesting. John is excited to see where this gate will lead him and what kind of exhibit awaits him. When he entered inside, he saw in front of him a huge kingdom, such as in Disney fairy tales. He was surprised, but decided to go up the stairs and go inside. In the abyss, you expect to see something different. This place really looks a bit strange. He relaxed for a while and almost paid for this mistake with his own life. Someone decided to start attacking the boy without warning. He immediately saw 3 monsters in front of him. They are called Succubus, rank S, a succubus monster that drains people's life force through a mental attack. Their illusions are called brainwashing. Usually these monsters are at entry level, but this time they are much stronger. They came to eat John, but as a result, they themselves will die. John went into the depths of the abyss not to talk too long. He will act quickly and brutally. At first it seemed that he could easily defeat them, but the problem is that there are 3 of these girls, and they know how to work well in a team. Each of them knows what to do, so the task becomes much more difficult. They reactivated their love illusions. After such brainwashing, a man will never return to his former state. At least it used to be, until they met this special man. As John destroyed one of them, he immediately turned his attention to the remaining ones. He ordered them to kneel. With the help of his aura, he made both monsters fall to the ground. This is already a real illusion. They couldn't believe that he was really able to defend himself from their attack, but these women don't know that he has the skill of predator and resistance to illusion. John came here to sign a contract with the devil and he will achieve his goal. In order to conclude a contract to summon a monster, one of 2 conditions must be met. You have to either give the monster what it wants or subdue it by force. John's action fully satisfies the second condition of the contract, so he can summon an S-rank monster. He came closer, and only then the system informed him that these monsters are not the object of the contract. In a moment, women appeared in front of him, much stronger than those before. They came to eat him, especially their leader, a large succubus. These women with extraordinary abilities like to eat men. With the help of their magical powers, they forced them to obey them, and then do whatever they want with the poor men. An assistant came to the queen and told that a man had come to their estate. This information amused the queen, because she had not felt the pleasure of entertainment for a long time. Seeing the monsters, John immediately began to run away because their number is too large. They hope to catch him in order to give a gift to the queen, so their motivation is pretty simple. In order to protect yourself, you need to activate the predator's aura immediately, otherwise it may be too late. Do not forget that John is in the territory of these monsters, so they have an advantage from the very beginning. If ordinary succubi are not the objects of the contract, then as a result there is only one option. A monster that uses its subordinates is called a queen. It can conquer even large succubi. Soon he was greeted by the queen's assistant and told that the queen had been waiting for him for a long time. He entered her room and saw a huge number of dead men around, not a very pleasant situation. The queen greeted him and asked him to feel at home. She is the queen and mother of all the monsters in this territory. This beauty is called Rosaria. Now John understood that from the very beginning, she was the object of the contract. The system informed about the possible oath of summoning. Fulfilling one of the two conditions of the contract will be much more difficult, but John will try to do it. He was surprised when he heard that she could speak human language. She wants to understand the purpose of his coming to this territory. Maybe he came by chance, or maybe he is looking for fame and treasures. John replied that all this did not bother him at all. He came here for one reason only, to receive the oath of summoning. He only heard loud laughter in response. It must be strange to hear such confident statements from an ordinary boy from the earth. Rosaria said that she has never been approached by a joker, but every joke has its limit. She wonders if John will talk about the oath of challenge when he becomes her toy. John is ready for any challenges. He knew that it would not be easy, because it is never easy in such places. He will force her into submission, just as he did with her assistants. The battle was started immediately. The Rosaria was the first to attack, but the John dodged her sharp tentacles. He drew his weapon and prepared to do whatever it took to get the oath of summoning. This guy was too confident and expected to be able to achieve his goal with just one blow. It was hard for him to believe when he realized that it was just an unattainable dream. Rosaria is on a completely different level compared to other monsters. With just a thought, she can stop his skills from activating and change the space around him. Of course, all this is just an illusion, but that is why she is called the Queen of Illusions. It turned out that from the very beginning, she took him under her control and forced his mind to see a completely different picture. John underestimated the power of this woman, and now he is forced to accept the consequences, whatever they may be. His mind is still in an illusion, but he needs to get out of here quickly if he wants to stay alive. Strange things were happening in his head. He found himself in a car with his parents, next to his young copy. John watched as the younger version of himself talked to his parents about high-ranking monsters. Little John dreamed of becoming a hero and buying mom and dad everything they needed. In response, they smiled and said that everything will definitely work out for him, but they want him to live a happy life and be healthy. Little John replied that this life will be boring, and he dreams of something completely different. His parents never cared if he would become a high-ranking awakened, and if he would be able to provide the family with everything they needed. All they ever wanted was for him to be happy and healthy. A little later, the illusion forced him to see what was happening in the car after the car accident in which his parents died. That's how it all happened. That's how this little boy with a dream in his heart became an orphan. He was left with an uncle and aunt. They saved him and replaced his parents. After that, John saw boys from school who constantly beat and insulted him. His memories were different, but most of them made his heart ache. He was constantly mocked because people who do not have the skills of an awakened person should not descend into the abyss. He had no skills, so he could not defend his rights on an equal basis with others. Even his close relatives did not understand why he was doing this, because his body was not ready for descent into the abyss. They said that they have money to live on, so there is no need to worry about them. His parents always wanted him to be happy, but it takes strength to achieve happiness. At this moment, his internal system began to use the skill, Queen's Hypnosis, again. The system tried to fight for this mysterious power, but nothing works, and all the characteristics are reduced. In this situation, only a predator who will be awakened by all these terrible illusions can help. Queen Rosaria came to meet the monster Asmodeus. He didn't expect her to be able to defeat this guy named John. The queen said that there are some nuances that do not quite lend themselves to logic. For some reason, there are flashbacks where John looks older than he is now. There are also memories with different results, although at first glance they refer to the same time period. The queen wants to find out what secrets this guy is hiding, to find answers to all these riddles. At that moment, everything around began to collapse, as if someone had intervened in this process shortly. Rosaria saw a white king in front of her, the same one who gave John the power. She was shocked. The queen looked at the whole creature and could not even move. Some unknown force very quickly approached her and took over her body and consciousness. It turned out to be John. He said that spying on other people's memories is a terrible hobby for the queen. After that, the boy asked her once again if she was ready to accept the oath of challenge, because otherwise she would die. Rosaria didn't expect that someone would be able to get out of her illusion, but she still thinks John is stupid. She is sure that he will not be able to kill her with the help of this iron toy. Very quickly, this woman grabbed him with her tentacles and said a somewhat strange phrase. She accepts the contract. After these words, she bit his shoulder and John began to scream from unbearable pain. Nevertheless, the system reported that the terms of the contract have been fulfilled and the oath of summons is taking place. The contract with the Devil's skill has been replaced with the Queen's Man, and the rank of this technique has also been changed. John will now be able to activate full hypnosis, as well as increase his charm stat. Rosaria smiled and said that the one chosen by the White King should rest. Soon John opened his eyes and saw that he was in front of the portal, and Becker was next to him. This member of the World Hunter Association was very happy that John was fine and healthy. He found John in the Hunter Zone after returning from patrolling the area. John immediately remembered what had happened and realized that the rosary had sent him here. As expected, it wasn't all a dream. The contract with the devil was replaced with the skill of summoning the queen's husband, and John also learned full hypnosis. If he summons a rosary, he can defeat even the national powers he faces in an Asian-friendly tournament. The technique of hypnosis also has a wide range of action, but it is still unclear why she changed her mind. Nor could he understand what her last words meant, that he must regain his strength because he was chosen by the king. He will find out the answers to all these questions later. Now Paul Becker wants to understand something. He asked what John planned to do next and advised him to hire a bodyguard who would be his guide. John smiled and said that he was pleased to hear these words, but it was not necessary because he had completed all his affairs in the abyss. After that, it's time to go home. The atmosphere is much nicer there. Not long after, the leader of the Night Tramps Guild was discharged from the hospital. The deputy leader of the Night Wanderers Guild, Khan, along with his men, came to congratulate her personally. She couldn't understand how many more people she had to beat to prove that she was in good shape. And it was reported that there is some interesting news. John the Hunter has returned from the depths of the abyss. It sounds strange because too little time has passed to explore the abyss, although maybe this guy is really special. Khan said that the problem is not that John has returned, but with whom he wants to meet. His goal is very simple, to see the inseparable boss of one of the 4 largest guilds. The boss of this guild is called Hunter Khan, and he is ready to meet John in person. As soon as Khan saw John in front of him, he immediately offered him a fight with each other to find out which of them is the strongest. Usually, when you visit someone, they offer you tea, but in this guild, they immediately offer sparring. Kang is one of the strongest hunters. He is called the best tank in Korea, and there are many legends about him. He can fight monsters for tens of hours without stopping, because this guy is really very powerful. He decided to attack first as a host. This is a classic, because he always recruits people to the guild only after sparring. He was already ready to fight, and just at that moment he received a hard slap in the face from his secretary. Karen is also a hunter, and does not want her boss to hear unpleasant words from the Human Rights Commission again. If he continues to fight with everyone around him, he will be banned from entering the abyss. After that, Karen turned to John. She said that it is not necessary to fight. They are ready to officially offer him to join the guild without it. If John is ready to join them, there will be no need to spar. So if he refuses, he will have to fight, so the offer is quite interesting. Everyone already knows that he is going to take part in the Asian-friendly tournament. The Inseparable Guild is the most specialized guild in abyssal research among all the others. If John becomes part of their team, he will be able to compensate for his lack of achievements very quickly. Khan asked the secretary to calm down. If John didn't want to join, he would have to fight. But very quickly, this young talent replied that he changed his mind, so he is ready to join their team. To be more precise, he only wants to use their methods to achieve his own goals. John said that whoever wins will get everything he wants. Khan had no choice but to agree to these terms. Soon, many people gathered at the Inseparable headquarters in the arena for the duels. Reporters had already surrounded John and were trying to understand if they were really trying to forcibly recruit him into the guild. Few people believe that John has a chance to win because his opponent is the best tank of New Korea. John was very angry because of all these questions and dreamed that the journalists would get rid of him. A little more, he will be ready to tear everyone to pieces. Suddenly, he saw reporter Kim approaching him, the same girl who is always there during important events. She has a special ability. She knows how to avoid a possible dismissal at the last moment. John grabbed her hand and said hello. They hadn't seen each other in a long time. Everyone around was very surprised when they saw that they knew each other. Everyone immediately started taking pictures of this couple. Kim was surprised that such a superstar as John remembered her, although she was not familiar with him. John told all the reporters that he would only answer their questions through Kim, even though she didn't like it. Now she became the main magnet for journalists, and John could calmly go and prepare for battle. Soon he entered the arena and saw that his opponent was already ready to meet him. Khan adores battles. He already began to worry that John fled because of the fear of death. John replied that he was ready to fight, and immediately activated the Stone Skin skill. Now the grandiose match for which everyone has been waiting for so long will begin. The conditions of the match are very simple. You have to bring your opponent to his knees. The battle began, and everyone activated their strengths. John is ready to shine in front of the audience as always. When using the spirit of the Night King at full power, John can defeat a serious opponent, so he is confident in his own strength. Even a hunter like Khan will have a hard time fighting him, but you can't underestimate this guy. It is not called the best tank of the New Korea for nothing. It will not be easy to defeat with ordinary tricks. This guy can move so fast that he is also compared to a leopard. But speed is not his only strength. He can also hit incredibly hard. Because of his strength, he seems like a bear, so in other words, he is a real beast. John realized that it was time to work as a poacher. Otherwise, he would lose this battle very quickly. Therefore, it seemed that he would be able to grab the opponent with chains. But this bull turned out to be stronger than all expectations. Khan summoned a new beast to help him every minute. It was incredible. Because of this, John could not adapt to the opponent's characteristics because they were constantly changing. It was necessary to prepare and set up for this battle much better. Underestimating the opponent can lead to disaster. The leader of the Inseparable Guild clearly enjoyed his power. He likes to shine in the rays of glory. John withstood all these blows and remained alive, although the energy in his body was less and less. He lost the first round, but that doesn't mean he's ready to kneel before Khan and admit defeat. The guild leader replied that with the help of his dinosaur, he is ready to bring even King Kong to his knees. Spectators felt ecstasy when they come to this arena. They never spare money for such a performance. Mary personally watched the battle together with her deputy. She is also satisfied with this fantasy. If John loses, then he becomes a member of the Inseparable Guild, so the conditions are quite simple. The skills of the Khan Hunter are called the Blessing of Wild Beasts. He imitates the strength of various beasts and demonstrates incredible power in close combat. It seems that even such a strong fighter as John has no chance of winning this duel. Although if you carefully watch this talented guy, you notice that he always leaves the ace up his sleeve for last. After a few seconds, he again confirmed that he is the most gifted hunter of the country for a reason. The audience was incredibly shocked and could not even comment on everything that happened. All that remained was to photograph this event with open mouths. They can be understood because the guild leader knelt before this young man, which means that John won this duel and now he can get whatever he wants. No one could believe that the boss of the Integral Guild really lost this battle, even though he was previously called invincible. John expected something similar, although he did not think that he would be able to drive such a serious opponent into a dead end. He was lucky that during the last attack, the mind control skill, the complete hypnosis that the rosary gave, worked perfectly. John ordered his opponent to kneel, and the Khan immediately complied. He was incredibly angry and couldn't believe that he really lost this battle. He can't even understand how it happened. In any case, what's done is done. Now there's no turning back time. Although it is not known what skill John used, even Khan admits that the loss is his mistake. She watched this battle with pleasure. She was not surprised at the result. Although, of course, I was amazed that John was able to win as technically and beautifully as expected. He has many strengths. He continues to surprise her with each subsequent meeting. At such rates, she can fall deeply in love. After the defeat, Khan approached his former rival. John extended his hand to him and said that it was a fair and spectacular match. The leader of the guild wanted to understand only one thing, whether from the very beginning John understood that he would win with the help of hypnosis. John replied that he was forced to use this technique because the opponent turned out to be very strong. After that, they shook hands. He can choose anything, money, or some very valuable artifact. John's desire turned out to be completely different. He does not want a material object. He is interested in the Minotaur's Labyrinth. In other words, he wants to take part in the raid to this dungeon. Soon, the New Korea Players Association also started talking about the Minotaur Labyrinth. The labyrinth is a difficult space with a lot of ambushes. In addition, you must take an awakened person there who has the skill of searching. Although the location is at the beginning of the abyss, a huge number of hunters and guilds suffered a crushing defeat there. Now the Inseparables got the right to raid this place. This information was confidential and they had been preparing for this raid for a long time. That's why it's strange that Hunter John found out about all this. Now anything can happen, so the association's worries are understandable. In any case, the only thing left for them is to believe in those who are going to clean up this cursed place. In their younger years, they were also very determined, so they can understand John's desire. The boss of the association is worried not because of the difficulty of cleaning, but because of the human factor, although he hopes that everything will be fine. He got an urgent call from the Japan Hunters Association, which doesn't happen very often. It turned out that the holiday personally sent the invitation to the Hunter John, and this is already interesting. Let's move to the gate control room on the basement floor of the association. 100 hunters were gathered who will go on a raid in the Minotaur's Labyrinth. All are already assembled. The guild leader is ready to lead them as a true leader. His authority gives confidence to others. Thus, they went into the dungeons and immediately encountered a huge number of monsters. It was not easy inside the Minotaur's Labyrinth, but all the hunters knew what they were going for, so they were ready for it. John destroyed monsters with an incredible speed. Sometimes it even seems as if he is playing a computer game and not living real life. Even the Khan praised his fighting prowess, although this man rarely praises his men. John received a weapon from the guild leader because his previous sword needed to be repaired. This dagger turned out to be very sharp and light. Its rank is very rare, and the name of this dagger is Aslan. John's participation in this raid is beneficial for the guild, which is why he received this gift from the boss. Labyrinth minus the brand is a place where all past raids ended in failure. This has been going on for more than 30 years. This time everything should be different. The participants of this raid are experienced veterans of high rank. Not only do they successfully destroy monsters, but they also stay alert and focused throughout the raid. Each of them knows how to work in a team and use the skills of their partners. In addition, several months ago they had to find the key to pass the dungeon. In the depths of the abyss, the corpse of a monster, probably from the labyrinth, was found. It was a huge minotaur corpse with a tattoo similar to the symbols found in the labyrinth. When the Khan touched the monster's corpse, its entire body, except for a single horn, immediately turned to ashes. If he is really from the Labyrinth, then with the help of the search skill, you can see the tracks and follow him. In this way, you can easily find the center of the Labyrinth. This is the main plan of the team. They soon continued their search. The guy in the hat has the search skill and leads the team behind him. Thus, within a few hours they were in place. The center of the Labyrinth was reached. In front of them was a huge statue of a Minotaur monster. So far it had not moved. The horn found earlier must be added to this statue. All this time they brought it with them, despite the fact that it weighs almost a ton. Up to this point, the events correspond to the information that John possessed before the regression. The raiding party used the great Minotaur's horn and reached the end of the maze, but then something else happened. Khan climbed onto the large statue and attached a huge horn to it. Everyone around was happy and celebrated, as if they had won the World Cup. It seemed that everything was fine, but then it became very light around. The aura of a monster appeared in this building. Almost 100 soldiers watched their leader and waited for a successful result. After what happened, there were less than 10 of them left, and so far there is no explanation for this. The statue turned into a huge skeleton, although a few seconds ago it was made of stone. Separate parts of the team got to different locations. Some ended up in a very cold place. Some were even less lucky and almost drowned in some swamp. Of course, all this is just fun for children, compared to death from a volcanic eruption. Only John remained calm. It was noticeable that he was waiting for this activation and was not at all surprised. These are called space travel ambushes, and if you're not ready for them, you're going to die. Many people learned about these events. In the world of hunters, rumors are worth as much as gold. The bandits also knew that John had joined the raid in the Minotaur Labyrinth. All this was too unexpected for them, but they are ready to stop the operation if the Shadow Lord orders them to do so. The Lord replied that it was not necessary. 5 high-ranking occultists had infiltrated the raid squad. Their total number was more than 20. So no matter how strong John and Khan are, there is a limit to even their capabilities. Having spent all their strength to conquer the Labyrinth, they will not have the opportunity to fight the shadows of the occultists. So many people are waiting for this ending, and they all want to see the death of John and Khan. Meanwhile, the Coma people who got into the jungle with John began to get to know each other. Miranda was the first to step forward. She is a rank B hunter, a member of the inseparable team. After these words, she immediately fell to the ground because she was hit with all his strength by John, who knows that this is all a lie, and that this girl is actually an occultist, whose name is Melina. John is the youngest hunter's rank. Many people wonder who he really is. Is John a true hero who always protects the common people like a Khan leader? Or, as rumor has it, he is the one who saved the residents of East Point, even at the risk of his own life? In any case, whatever the answer is, for George, John is definitely a great person to be respected. George is now shocked by what is happening. He is a member of the Inseparable Guild and has the skill of magic orbs. When he saw that John had knocked out the girl, he thought that he had imagined it. Nevertheless, John assured that everything was under control because he had just hit the occultist. George could not believe it and prepared a weapon to kill this obsessed boy. John wasn't lying at all, but it didn't matter because he could die now. George could not believe that his heroes would turn out to be obsessed psychos in such a crisis situation. He cannot believe that Miranda is an occultist because she is a precious friend who has been exploring the abyss with him for a long time. George immediately went to this girl and began to give her first aid. He wants to take her with him and run away. It's unlikely he'll succeed, especially after that missed powerful right hook. She came to her senses and said that no one has the right to touch her body, especially such a dirty pig as George. Now John was smiling again, for he had proved himself right and struck down the traitor. The occultists realized that they could no longer remain in the shadows, so it was time to attack. They tried to corner John, but he quickly disappeared from their sight. He did not expect that all 3 would turn out to be traitors, but he was ready for any twist of the plot. They were surprised because none of the guild members of the inseparable teams with whom they had spent many years together did not notice this. That is why Melina wants to understand and how this young guy was able to guess about their betrayal. John assured that the problem is not at all her bad acting. He came from the future, so he knows everything in advance. Of course, no one believed him. Everyone thought he was just joking. These jokes have already crossed the line, so now the occultists want to destroy John once and for all. They thought it would be easy to do until they met his iron chains. It may be difficult for him to fight with strong monsters sometimes, but he will not waste extra time with small rogues. A cruel death awaits these fools. Now he will show them his talent in person. Melina was surprised that her witch claw skill didn't work. The technique causes paralysis and hallucinations, but John didn't feel it at all. She wounded him in the first attack, but this guy is on another level. When he summoned the spirit of the King of Knights, she realized that she was in a real horror movie. He explained that no poisons affect him at all, although he is ready to take this skill for himself. Now Melina tried to run away, but this decision should have been made much earlier. It is too late to run now. The same fate awaits every occultist. Soon George woke up. He tried to understand what happened while he was unconscious. Everything around looked as if there was a war between tyrannosaurs. John grabbed Milena and imprisoned her with his chains. She might still be needed. He apologized, but said that there was no more time to play with her. Now they have to play a game called Tell the Truth. This can be done with the Rosary's full hypnosis skill. John wants to know how many occultists are in the guild unit, as well as the purpose of their special operations. The hypnosis worked. The girl said that there were about 20 of them, including 5 high-ranking hunters. Their goal is quite simple. They are all ready to give their lives for this mission. The occultists must do everything to make the raid in the Minotaur's Labyrinth fail, as well as kill the leader of the Khan Guild. Now John understood the full picture of what was happening. More occultists have appeared. There were only 3 before his regression. As with the breach of the gate, the future begins to change. John is the cause of all this and he understands it. Now they must unite with Can. George still could not believe that Miranda would really turn out to be a traitor, but as John knew about it from the very beginning, the young talent said that getting out of this place would be easier than he expected. Although it looks like a space that is different from where they were, in reality, it is still part of the labyrinth. There must be a corridor here that connects this place with other spaces. Probably, they will not be able to reach the desired destination the first time, because the passage is connected with other spaces. If they go through the same door, they will soon find the Can Hunter. George decided to ask a question. He cannot understand why John did not reveal the known truth. He apologized for distrusting the boy, but if John had explained everything right away, this would not have happened. John assured that all this does not matter now, whether George believes him or not, but Khan already knows about what is happening. The leader of the guild has already started his personal battle. He realized that he has become the target of the insidious plan of the enemies. They managed to seriously injure him, but this does not mean that he will surrender and will not fight to the last drop of blood. He still doesn't understand who they are and what they're doing, but this joke has gone too far. She was shocked when she saw what was happening. She immediately tried to save her boss. The girl behaved recklessly and therefore almost died. The Khan covered her with his own body. They will not be given even a second to rest. Everything happens very quickly because the goal is very simple to destroy. The boss of the guild. Despite his severe injuries, he still behaved like a true gentleman, asked the Kirin to rest, and prepared for battle. No matter what, he will not allow anyone to insult his people, so these thieves are in for a fierce battle. Although he did his best, in such a situation he has no way to care for others. All these thieves are of high rank. They are elite members of the Dark Guild who gathered to kill Khan. He admits that they all prepared very well for this battle. He used to believe that he was good at people. He shouldn't blame himself too much. This plan was several years in the making, so everything is almost perfectly planned. It turned out that sometime before that, John still informed Khan about the upcoming attack, warned that the occultists would try to kill him. Khan thought it was absolute delusion, but his words turned out to be pure truth. Khan ignored this advice because the suspicions involved his friends. As the guild boss, he cannot ignore his subordinates, even though it will cost him too much right now. Everyone around called him stupid. Even his personal secretary couldn't stand it and started shouting at him. He should have checked the information and listened to John, but now it was too late. He had to defend his life. These occultists are indeed highly trained warriors. Defeating them will be a difficult task even for a Khan. He had to summon a dragon spirit in order to protect himself and Kirin. Although there are too many rivals, the guild boss still remains an incredible fighter of the highest class. Using the form of an old dragon, he activated the beast's defense skill, a powerful symbiosis for defense and counterattack. Meanwhile, in parallel with these events, George could not understand why the boss knew about all this and did nothing. Let's go back a while and look at the conversation between these two characters. John couldn't believe that Khan was really willing to risk his own life for the sake of trusting his friends. The guild boss replied that he hadn't shown his true strength yet, so you shouldn't worry about him. He meant that if he allows himself to be attacked, it does not mean that he is going to lose the battle. John and George found them using teleportation doors. They were shocked when they saw what happened here. One experienced warrior defeated a team of professional assassins. So everything ended well. Now they can discuss further plans and strategies. While John was trying to find Khan, he saw the other team members, but due to priority, he could not save them. Now it is necessary to decide what to do next, although Khan does not want it, but he will have to retreat. There were probably still occultists in their community, and although they had reached the end of the maze, the boss of the place was still nowhere to be seen. Although it is not a very pleasant thought, but before the losses grow, Khan must implement a plan to escape from this place. Although the conversation is about wasting time, without getting even one achievement, but at this stage, it is the best solution. John found out information about the occultists, but as a result, Khan was seriously injured, so you have to think about health. This time he will have to take a step back in order to take 2 steps forward in the future. An interesting conversation followed. Kirin asked George if there were ambushes and monsters in other spaces. George calmly replied that they had traveled a great deal of space and were very lucky not to have encountered any problems. John was surprised. He really didn't notice that there was no trouble coming their way, strange though it was. Usually, when you are ambushed in one space, the other spaces are always filled with monsters and trouble. The spaces they pass through are completely different places, and they did not have any threat, although they should have been dangerous. John can't figure out how Khan destroyed the boss of this maze before regression. At that moment, they heard something. Some huge creature was approaching them. Soon, everyone realized that they had finally met the boss of this labyrinth, but it would have been better if it hadn't happened. The boss of the maze is the great Minotaur Queen, who is at rank S+. They had already prepared for retreat and rest, but now their lives were once again in mortal danger. The Minotaur Queen has started her attack. When someone comes to her territory, she must destroy these invaders. John immediately activated their skills and went to duel with this monster. John managed to tie Karen up and asked her to stay in a safe place with George. The battle promises to be very tough and uncompromising. Everyone wants to win. These two hunters fought as a true team. Together, they are a threat to any monster. The Minotaur Queen is not going to fight without support. She also wants to call her husband to help her. It was for this that she summoned the Tao King. He was brought back from the world of the dead with the help of her sorcery. These two huge monsters are a real threat. It will be incredibly difficult to defeat them. John saw that George and Karen are in danger. If they are not helped, they will turn into a snack for monsters. The monsters turned to the people and said that they do not allow anyone to walk through their labyrinth because it prevents them from resting. Because of this, the monsters are ready to release all their anger and cruelty and show their power. Karen was shocked and scared. George was also in this state, but he took out his gun and started to defend his life. They were very lucky that Khan managed to intervene in this situation and deliver a powerful blow to the Tao King. John kept up with the guild leader and helped him with his iron chains. For a while it will be able to keep these huge monsters from hell at bay, but not for long. In order to defeat them, you really need something hot, for example, fire from the mouth of the dragon Khan. These two really work well as a team, although it would have been better if Khan did not have serious injuries on his body. It seemed that the fire should help, but the Minotaurs are much stronger than expected. To all their benefits, they showed that they are not afraid of any fire, because they were born in hell. For them, fire is like a child's toy. The battle continued. The problem is that monsters have an incredible power to restore health. Even powerful blows are not enough to win. As expected, if you don't destroy them with a single attack, the battle loses its meaning. The Minotaurs are very tough opponents who also attack the Secretary and George, thus distracting John and Can. Experienced hunters will soon reach their limits of endurance, and then they will start to have problems. Khan was visibly nervous because he could not understand how to win and what choice he should make. He immediately remembered Joseph's conversation. He warned that the association would impose sanctions on him if he continued to challenge everyone around him to a duel. If he wants to take someone to his team, then he must make a decision based not only on skills, but also on personal characteristics. Joseph understands that Khan trusts people, but sometimes it's good to be suspicious of others. Previously, Joseph was also a hunter and saw many interesting and incomprehensible things. There were times when one small mistake could lead to the fact that you lose everything. Sometimes it was necessary to give up something valuable in order to save something much more, so not everything can be solved by force. Understanding one's limits and being able to choose what is more important to achieve the goal is also an important quality of a great hunter. Khan listened to all these words and did not attach much importance to them. He already wanted to return home as soon as possible and challenge someone to a duel again. He thinks that Joseph says all these words because he is too old and weak. Not much time had passed since this conversation, but now the Khan had changed his mind about Joseph and his words. He took his advice lightly, and now he realizes that he made a mistake. It is difficult for him to make a choice because he can very easily lose his people due to a mistake. Khan is not going to sit back and watch all of this. He is going to act violently. He said he was going to protect his people and turn these monsters into ashes. Then Khan talked about an important choice. John didn't understand anything, but he likes the attitude of this warrior. John said that there is only one way to defeat the Minotaurs. He is not sure that this method will work, but he hopes that today they will be lucky again. Minotaurs are sure that despite the choice of these people, death awaits them anyway, and there is no protection from it. Nevertheless, the hunters chose a strategy and clearly acted according to the plan. John seemed quite calm and confident. He knew what he was doing and wasn't worried. To succeed, he needed to summon the spirit of the demon knight and show his full potential. Khan has done everything he can. Now he just has to hope that this young guy can show something incredible. The Minotaur Queen felt invincible, but now it seems that this is not quite the case. Let's go back and talk about the method of victory invented by John. It was just a theory, but the guy believes that every space here is connected to another space by a door. The slot in which the Minotaur Queen is located is also connected to other spaces. The Bull Kings endlessly regain their lives and come into this space of the Minotaur Queen. If there is no queen in this space, then they will also naturally disappear from here. If this theory turns out to be false, then death awaits all of them, but there is no other option. Now the situation is the same. They will all die if they don't do anything. This decision was made a few minutes ago, and now it became obvious that this plan worked. Of course, in order for the matter to be done, it was necessary to conduct a serious battle with the help of all its capabilities. The hunters fought with incredible dedication and were not afraid to risk their own lives. This could lead to a fatal outcome, but if you decide to become a hunter, you must get used to the risk. In this battle, Khan again took that risk, this time costing him the loss of his right arm. John was shocked when he saw this. He knew it would be hard, but he didn't expect it to be this hard. In any case, they must focus and get things done no matter what. Minotaur Queen is a real King Kong in the world of dungeon monsters. Her attacks are very powerful and difficult to predict, even with the monster's speed issues. She admits that they are brave. The Queen did not expect that someone would use the gathered spaces to do something like this. It turns out that John miscalculated something. The Minotaur Queen now does not use the Force to resurrect the Bull King. This means that now she can direct all this energy to the battle against the hunters. Nothing good will come of it. John made a mistake and now has to suffer because of it. The gap in their strength is incredibly large. If he does not use the Predator skill, he will die. Of course, not everything is so easy. Using the Predator skill, he is not sure that he can defeat the Minotaur Queen in one blow. If he is unable to do this, then an uncontrollable burst of Predator energy awaits him. With such a schedule, he does not know what to expect at all. The result may be even worse than last time. At this difficult moment, the boy remembered the conversation with Mary when he came to her in the hospital. In reality, unlike what is written in the system, the type of skill varies greatly depending on how it is used. Although the only thing Mary uses is the Amazon technique, she can use this energy to strengthen her body. There are times when you can mix skills before applying. For example, as for stealth, John usually only applies this skill to rings. So if there's a technique that he's not very stable in, then he can try to use it as if he's doing it halfway. Mary is sure that John is very talented, so he will be able to easily complete this difficult task. Now, if he does not succeed, he will die because there is no one to expect help from. John used all possible resources of the body in order to achieve the desired victory. Now we can say with confidence that Mary was absolutely right about her theory. On a subconscious level, he felt that the skill of a predator takes different forms depending on his desire. This means that the practical application of this technique can be the same as that of other skills. Little is known about this unknown power, but whatever the nature of the predator, it must squeeze the maximum resources out of this technique. In this case, he will be able to achieve maximum progress and show incredible results. This time he managed to do it 100%. Now the Minotaur Queen would no longer be a problem. This entire illusion was destroyed and the guild returned to the original dungeon hall. All of them saw John in front of them, who was with the boss of the guild, Can. These two assured that all bad things were left behind. They were able to destroy the monster and clear the dungeon. Of course, this is an incredible success. Karen was most happy. She began to hug these two legendary warriors. After the death of the great Minotaur Queen, a raiding party found mountains of gold, silver, and precious stones that were hidden in the labyrinth. The most valuable treasure that was found was a unique elixir that helps to increase your characteristics. It is called the Fountain of Endurance. The amount of this elixir was not enough for everyone, so it was given only to John and Khan because they made the greatest contribution to the conquest of the labyrinth. Of course, this was not enough to restore all of Khan's characteristics. His lost hand was more expensive than this elixir. Occultists who infiltrated the inseparable unit were immediately arrested after the sweep was over. The coma hunters who participated in the raid focused on treatment and rest. Thus, the difficult hike in the Minotaur's labyrinth came to an end. The whole world soon learned about all these events. Only the lazy did not follow the news at that moment. Soon, Khan appeared before journalists and officially announced that he was leaving the career of a hunter and was retiring. Then he said that it was only a temporary rest, although journalists still wrote that he is now retired. Everyone around was worried. The Asian-friendly tournament is waiting for Korea soon, and without Khan, the result may not be satisfactory. The experienced hunter said that without his hand he would not be able to take part in this, but there is no need to worry about the outcome of the tournament. There is a man who will be able to replace him in these competitions, and now everyone must get to know this man in person. When the journalists saw John, they were shocked. They believed that he was a novice hunter, so they were not sure that his qualifications were sufficient. On the other hand, after conquering the labyrinth, he became a legend, to the point where he fell a fountain of endurance and reached a national level of strength. Not everyone is convinced that John is really at the national level of power. The national level of strength is a monster of another level, even among high-ranking hunters. John addressed the journalists and said that he will participate in the Asian-friendly tournament as one of the representatives of Korea. He understands that everyone around is surprised by this news, since John will now take the place of an experienced tank. He understands that compared to the other hunters, he is still a novice, so there is no confidence that he will be able to perform as well as the other members of the team. At the moment, there is no way to confirm the rumors about the national level of strength that everyone is talking about. He cannot say that he is most confident of victory. It is not easy to reach the national level of strength, and he knew it from the very beginning. Despite all this, he hopes that this Asian-friendly tournament will be a place where he can show his true potential. In one dark office, a woman begged to be left alive. She is ready to show her full potential. If you look more closely, you can understand that this is Milena, who was a member of the Inseparable Guild team. She said that she miraculously managed to escape from prison, and also said that she did not expect that John would be so strong. Her boss assured her that she was not guilty of anything. The opponent was much stronger, so she should not blame herself for this. He understands that this happens sometimes, so he is ready to forgive her for it. Of course, these are just beautiful words. After her failure, nobody needs Milena's help anymore. She showed that she is too weak. Her boss believes that force is law. She ran away from difficulties and tried to stay alive, and this is disgusting. He ordered his assistants to burn her body because the association would soon be able to track down this garbage. This time, the occultists acted as a real team, and even this was not enough to avoid a repeat of the incident at East Point. Even with the failure to kill John, there was no chance of clearing the maze, but it happened anyway. This year, the Asian-friendly tournament will be a lot of fun. There will be too many important events. After finishing clearing the Minotaur maze, John was actively preparing for the tournament. Soon he personally met with the best hunters of New Korea at the association's office. There he got to know serious people, such as hunters like Kenneth. He also met an interesting guy in a mask. His name is Steven, and he looks a bit tense. Sandra is in this room. She is the leader of the Wizards Guild, a very serious hunter. Well, of course, this meeting is impossible without Pak, one of the best hunters in Korea, and he is happy to see John. Although not immediately, this meeting finally happened. Everyone is gathered and ready to discuss the upcoming tournament. Joseph invited John to sit at the table and start a strategy discussion for the Asian-friendly tournament. In the past, when the abyss was opened and people began to awaken their skills, monsters and occultists appeared in large numbers. This means that the time of chaos has come. In that period, the squads from different Asian countries united their efforts to defeat evil. We can say that this became the basis of the future Asian tournament. Currently, each country is given 7 days to destroy monsters and occultists within the competition. Here, a scoring system is used. Most citizens are afraid of monsters and occultists, so they were happy to officially call this competition a festival. In fact, to be honest, this competition is more like a small war. The tournament not only becomes a place to test the military training of each country, but also provides an opportunity to achieve a propaganda effect. This time, the competition will be even bigger and more serious. The winning country will receive big money, unique items, and access to dungeons. John looks happy. He made the right decision to join this Asian tournament. The succubus queen he met in the depths of the abyss, Rosaria, she knows for sure about the king's existence. John can't even guess what power she has, so don't expect her to calmly tell about the king. He needs to become stronger in order to speak with her on an equal footing. That's why the Asian tournament is so important. Charles said that the team from New Korea has a problem and they should talk about it now. The position of the first place is still vacant. Such talented hunters as Khan and Mary will not be able to participate in the tournament this time. That is why the Korean team looks less confident this time and is not considered a favorite. Puck thinks that there is no need to worry. After John joined them, they can be sure that this guy will help them win. He said that John is at the national level of strength, which means great potential and opportunities. Everyone around was surprised by the words they heard, yet there is still no confirmation that John really has a national level of strength. He told them that it was just a rumor and that it was still unofficial information. Were those around upset when they heard these words? Of course they expected to hear that their team had a real prodigy. Some even suggested to find a new member of the team. They need a real leader, not a little rookie boy. Although they do not have such a national level of strength as China or Japan, the Asian-friendly tournament is in any case not a brutal war. The key point is the fight for points, which can be obtained by hunting monsters and occultists. If you keep calm, there will be good chances of victory. For this, you need to bet on experienced hunters. Steven, Sandra, and Puck must focus their attention on hunting monsters. Kenneth has more experience in one-on-one combat, so he supports Hunter John in hunting the occultists. In the Asian-friendly tournament, which will be held next week, Joseph expects a very active activity from them. Soon, the opening ceremony of the Asian-friendly tournament began. It takes place at the stadium of the Asian branch of the World Hunter Association. The Philippines, Vietnam, Singapore, and other countries are already here. Teams from each country are gathering to participate in the friendly tournament. Among all of them, the biggest favorites are China and Japan. These teams are at the national level of strength. China expects to take first place in this tournament, with 3 national-level hunters participating from their country. John's relatives also watched this tournament on TV. They understood that there was almost no chance of winning, and they hoped that everything would be fine with John. Robert couldn't believe they didn't believe in John. He still thinks he's the best hunter in the world. is still the president of the John fan club and that they should also believe in this guy, no matter what. This house was bought with the money John gave them after clearing the dungeon. He also constantly gives them bonuses so that they do not deny themselves anything in life. This means that the more successful John becomes, the more his close relatives receive. Jones remains as always very calm. He calmly prepares for the competition and sets himself up for victory. A girl came up to him and said that she thanks him for what he did in East Point. This is a Japanese hunter, St. Carol. When she arrived at the scene of the terrorist attack, everything was already cleaned up. John managed to do it faster than everyone else. John remembered that it was this girl who managed this incident before his regression. Considering her incredible abilities, it is not surprising that such a large-scale terrorist attack was eliminated so quickly. She offered him a meeting in order to thank him for his help, but John refused. She is trying to understand the reason for his refusal, but first you need to remember the circumstances under which it happened. The gathering of hunters ended rather quickly after Joseph organized a strategy for the team. The leader of the association asked John to stay for a while. It was he who told him about Carol's proposal. He said that he does not know her intentions, but she is one of the few people in the world who has incredible regeneration abilities. Maybe her power can help heal Kan's hand, so meeting her before the tournament would be a good idea. Surprisingly, John immediately refused this offer and did not even hesitate. It was unclear. The Khan hunter had suffered a lot and deserved to be treated. Can't give a complete answer right now, but actually the reason is quite simple. Even from his past life, John understands very well what a terrible reality is hidden behind the name of the saint. That's why he refused to meet her, and that's why he so quickly avoided talking to the girl at the opening of the tournament. Carol understands that the reason for refusing to meet with her is not as simple as it seems. Surely this guy knows something about her. Everyone around is only interested in the progress of this child. But the most amazing thing about this guy is his information awareness. He continues to make moves that cannot be made by force alone, without having important information. She does not understand how he found out additional information about her, but she wants him to become her property as soon as possible. Soon it was officially announced that the long-awaited Asian-friendly tournament begins from this moment. The official presenter of the Asian-friendly tournament will be the Singaporean hunter Rank Alex. As soon as the host of the tournament said that the competition was about to begin, John quickly approached him and cut off his head. The audience could not believe their eyes. Something incredibly strange was happening. The entire New Korea team united and stood up for John. Teams from China, Japan, and other countries also got their weapons and prepared for battle. Strange and incomprehensible things began to happen. It seems that this is all just a performance in honor of the opening of the competition. The audience tried to understand that it was happening. The presenter's head was cut off before their eyes. It is unlikely that this is part of the ceremony. Even the members of his own team did not understand what was happening. Sandra thinks that John has completely lost his mind. At that moment, the god of great power Shishin from the Chinese team approached them. He was also shocked by what was happening. Shishin believes that now is not the time to listen to explanations. The bloody battle must begin right now. St. Carol asked her partner to kill everyone around and spare no one. She would also order that only one boy, her future property John, be left alive. At that moment, a woman intervened in the competition and ordered everyone to stop immediately. They understand that everyone is tense, but a Singaporean hunter was killed, so they have to deal with this situation. She is a representative of the Singapore Hunters Association. Her name is Haley Tan. Everyone around saw perfectly well what John did. His act cannot be explained in any way. Everyone was surprised, but John remained calm and said that Alex was an occultist. He is in a high rank. Several years ago, he killed about 30 passengers of a luxury liner that went out into the Pacific Ocean. Associations and companies from all over the world put a bounty of 30 billion won on Alex's head, but he quietly disappeared and no one found him. He said that Alex changed his appearance, but Haley still does not understand what this has to do with this incident. Only a little later she began to guess what John meant. Probably Alex knew how to change his appearance at will. John very quickly confirmed his hypothesis and showed the true face of the murdered occultist. Everyone around was shocked. He really turned out to be right. He asked to thank the Night Wanderers Guild for this information. No one could understand how it was even possible, how the guild could learn such hidden information. A high-ranking hunter from Japan, also known as the Devil's Sword, Edward became interested in this boy. The Republic of Korea immediately received 1,000 points for this incident. So far, they occupy the first position in the ranking. For a while, the tournament was stopped due to all these events. Hunters from every country left the arena. There were open hunting grounds for monsters and occultists. Meanwhile, John became a star because of his actions. Some really believed that the night vagabonds had learned about the location of this dangerous occultist. Of course, this is not true at all. Mary did not know about it, so John decided to lie to the public. Now the work of the guild is stopped due to calls from all sides. This is not in the style of the Hunters Association. It is obvious that this is John's personal initiative. It is hard to believe that her boy did this. His motives remain too vague. In any case, the competition has begun. Now players must find and destroy monsters and occultists. John did not waste time and worked hard, even in the rain. His first victim was a high-ranking occultist called a blood-sucking demon. At that moment, John got a call, probably Mary trying to talk to him about a recent incident. She immediately started screaming and explained that because of his jokes, her guild is now in a lot of trouble. She knew that he would be waiting for her call, so she decided to call, using a secure communication channel. John said that now he has 2 important requests for her. Now Mary can help him. He needs to learn information about an occultist, as well as help with a small investigation. Mary explained that if he needed information, she had already passed it on through the association. John realizes that no matter how many fools he catches, it still won't be enough to win the Asian tournament. If they want to take first place, then they need to catch a big fish. He calls the Dark Guild a big fish, although right now he had better think about something else. In front of John stood real professional killers. They did not come to talk. Japanese hunter Kimura, who is called a Tiger Sword, wants to punish John for disrespecting the holiday. John can't figure out how exactly he offended her, but in any case, there's no time to think about it now. Tiger Sword Kimura is a participant of the Asian-friendly tournament from the side of Japan. He is one of the most violent and emotional followers of St. Carol. As we know, the sword Edward, which is called the Sword of the Devil, is beautiful and concise. If we look at the sword of Timura, it is a truly chaotic weapon that is focused on tearing, destroying, and hurting the opponent. In any case, no matter how dangerous this sword is, it is of no use if it does not achieve its purpose. John wasn't even going to finish his conversation with Mary. He can fight and talk at the same time. From the start, the Kimura was surprised that his attacks didn't work at all against this little snot. No one has been able to ignore such a dangerous delusion before, but so far John manages to do it. Mary could not believe that John really targeted the Dark Guild, although she does not understand why the association left the occult cartel alone. As soon as you approach them, they immediately cut off their tails and hide. If John, without reason and additional information, starts attacking the Dark Guild, he may fall into a trap. It's amazing that this guy can talk on the phone and defeat a serious opponent at the same time. His talent is truly incredible, although he is still young and his potential is not fully revealed. John is sure he can handle the consequences, but he can't tell Mary his whole plan just yet. He asked her to believe in his powers and reminded her that he had never been wrong in the past. Mary said that she had little information about the Dark Guild, but instead, she could give him a slightly different place. She is referring to information about the Triad, the tycoons who control the political world, the 3 leaders of the occult cartel that dominates Asia. Mary found the exact location of a man named Candy. He is one of the leaders. Of course, the Triad cannot be compared to the Dark Guild, but it will also give a lot of points, so Jones is worthy of catching these bastards. Meanwhile, Mary will try to find some information regarding his past request. It seems Kimura is still alive and wants to continue the battle. He doesn't like being ignored. He said that if John did not fight him with dignity, then he would destroy this territory with him. He talks a lot and tries to scare an inexperienced guy. It is unlikely to work. According to the official version, battles between participants are prohibited, but if Kimura wants it so much, then John is ready to show him his strength. Now it's too late to call his mother for help. Kimura must learn to take responsibility for his actions on his own. Soon, St. Carol was informed that Kimura would no longer be able to participate in the competition. In order to avoid any problems, I had to tell journalists that Kimura was ambushed by occultists. After John's defeat, this experienced hunter almost lost his mind due to anger. He must have been defeated mentally. Given his current condition, it will take at least a month to get him back to normal. Now it is clear that John is also hiding some skills from journalists and everyone else. Devil Sword Edward offered to personally destroy John, but for Carol it was just a joke. Not wanting to lose another strong hunter from her team, the Saint also explained that she knew Kimura would lose this battle. They have another bait set up for the Johns, so this is all just part of the plan. They entered the dark prison and saw an almost naked man in front of them. Saint greeted the devil and said that the time had come for him to work for her. We are transported to the Abyss, the territory that has no name. A Singaporean S-rank hunter, his name is Regaya, is currently fighting in this place. Opposite him is the experienced leader of the Chinese team, the god of great power of Shishin. Regaya cannot understand why this experienced warrior, with his capabilities, would use such cowardly methods. The god of great power explained that he targeted them not because he wanted to play games, but because he was asked to do so by the head of the association. It sounds suspicious. The head of the Chinese Hunter Association is personally asking his hunters to kill other members. It seems that they want to start a real war at these competitions. Regaya asked his assistant to run away immediately and tell the others while he tried to apprehend this monster. He tried to do everything in his power, but it was not enough. No one was able to escape and tell this terrible story, so soon the same fate awaits other players. Shishin is targeting the Korean players, especially he wants to destroy that guy everyone is talking about. A week has already passed since the start of the Asian-friendly tournament. So far, with a large margin, Korea is in first place. The audience is surprised. Korea was not among the favorites, but now it is in the first place. It is really strange. It is not known what Japan and China are doing because they have national-level hunters, and they are still not leading in the competition. Viewers already knew that the Japanese Kimura hunter was seriously damaged, and the hunters from Singapore were found dead. Also, no one could find the Filipino warriors after they went to the abyss, so it is already obvious that this tournament is very bright in events. All these rumors about the murders of the hunters had already spread among the participants. John also knew about all this. The Competition Association has asked all countries to work with the investigation team so that all these crimes are solved. What is happening now should start in 3 days. John knows that the Chinese hunters of the national power level are to blame for this. The reasons may be different, but probably the main reason is the ambition of the same guy, the leader of the Chinese national team. Holy Carol and Shishin will not let John live peacefully. If the events are developing so quickly, then John must also speed up. He came to his room suddenly, strangely, because it was quite late at night. They went outside to talk and found a place where no one could overhear them. Kenneth is unhappy with John's actions, and although everything ended well, John took too many risks during the opening ceremony. If everything went wrong, then the whole team strategy was defeated. This is not teamwork at all. John seems to have heard these words from other hunters before. Kenneth is not interested in the reason. In any case, he is disappointed in John's actions. He wants this guy to share his information with other team members. John decided to tell that recently he was suddenly attacked by a Japanese Kimura hunter. Now it is clear why this experienced hunter from Japan refused to continue the competition. It was very lucky to repel this warrior's attack, but it is still unknown how Kimura was able to find his location. That is why John believes that among the associations, there is a rat that tells all the information in a third party. Kenneth was angry and started yelling at John. He didn't like that this young guy was hinting at him. You can't talk about such topics superficially. Anyone who has access to information is a suspect, and John is no exception. From the moment he learned that the occultist Alex was hiding in the Singapore Hunters Association, John began to think about a spy. If the foreign hunters were not killed by occultists and monsters, then the killings were done by the national level of power. John wants to go it alone for a while, and they're in first place right now, so there's no point in changing tactics. Although he suddenly tried to stop him, the conversation was ended. This behavior made the experienced member of the Korean team very angry. He had never met such an insolent young hunter. All this time he was calmly watched by John. He used the skill of invisibility. The guy wants to understand whether Kenneth is a rat who spies and reports information to a third party. John did not know that there was a spy among them, but when he saw how easily Kimura found him, he understood what was happening. In this situation, he cannot trust anyone. Now it is better to start searching for the Triad bandits. After this conversation, John rested and went in search of information from the very morning. He decided to have a double breakfast with a burger and a Coke. That's what sports nutrition is called. Probably John deliberately put on a hat and a hood so that others would not recognize him. He had already found the puppets of the leader of the Triad and carefully followed their actions. It is hard to believe that these are high school participants. Their bag is definitely full of illegal items. Now John must calmly follow them, and with this help become the leader of the Candy Triad. It turned out that he did not disguise himself as well as he would have liked, because among the visitors, there was someone who recognized him. John could not believe his own eyes, but in front of him really sits the devil, who should be imprisoned. According to rumors, he was sentenced to life imprisonment for the incident at East Point. Then it is not clear why he ended up here. Shaitan assured that he did not come to fight, so John can relax, but he still better leave. Although the devil said that he was not going to fight, those were just words. Everyone around immediately began to worry because they realized that soon they would witness a fight. Most of the people recognized the criminal Shaitan, and only later they realized that next to him is John, from the Korean team. The members of the Triad very quickly realized that John had come to capture them, so they began to run away. Now that things have not gone according to plan, it is necessary to act, but Shaitan was the first to act. He said that he did not come here to fight, but after these words he used his magic power. A few seconds after this attack, all the people around immediately lost consciousness. He only did it with killing energy, so since their last encounter the devil's skills had improved. He already knows that John is hunting the Triad, and one of their leaders, in this case, he offers John an important conversation, which he will not regret. John decided that it would be better to first grab this guy with chains, and only then start a calm conversation. If he is so sure that he can be useful, then John is ready to give him a minute of free time. If in this minute he hears some delusion, then Shaitan will pay for the fact that he destroyed his plan. Shaitan smiled and replied that these chains remind him of unpleasant memories. But now he is completely different. You probably shouldn't jump to conclusions, because not only did he make progress, John also got better and stronger. They immediately got down to business. It's obvious that John won't be able to capture the entire Triad by himself, so Candy is just bait. If you continue to follow him, it is unlikely that John will benefit. 30 seconds of the conversation have already passed. Shaitan sped up and told that he had been making deals with occultists for a long time and also dealt with Candy. He can personally take John to the Triad. This is a very interesting option. It seems that all these proposals did not interest John very much, so he decided to punish the devil for destroying his plans. It was cruel but fair. After that, John continued to speak. He said that the offer is really interesting, but it's strange that a person who always dreamed of killing John now wants to help him. John wants to know the real plan of the devil, otherwise he will face terrible torture. He used the skill that the rosary gave him. This hypnosis helps a lot in such situations. Meanwhile, the competition continued, with many teams hunting monsters and occultists. The Japanese side wasted no time and destroyed the pagans every few seconds. Their main force was the less devil Edward. He really is an extremely talented guy. Saint Kira was satisfied with his actions, and this is exactly what she expects from her leader. Edward wants to make sure that everything goes according to plan. The devil has already defeated John, so there are doubts that everything will be as it should be. Compared to him, John is a talent who has reached, according to rumors, a national level of strength. No matter how much more powerful the devil becomes with the holy gift skill, he will not be able to defeat John. Thus, instead of gaining power, Carol became a target of risk due to the Oath of the Awakened. She asked not to worry about it anyway. It doesn't matter if John wins or loses. According to the information received by the holiday, John is now targeting the Triad. Almost everyone already knows about it. Shaitan had close relations with occultists. He also maintains contact with Candy. Since Satan clearly cannot defeat John alone, he will try to trap him and then team up with the Triad and destroy John. Saint wants to know more information, fighting style, values and skills. She wants to know everything about this guy. That is why she is not interested in what will happen to Shaitan, because the main thing is to find out information about her goal. The warriors of the Triad have already learned that they are being hunted. They united in order to stick together and fend off attacks. The leader of the Candy Triad greeted Shaitan. They have known each other for many years. According to the plan, the Shaitan was supposed to lure a guy from New Korea into this ambush, but even there he came alone. He said that this world lives according to the principle of natural selection. The strong win over the weak, so this world is not very fair. He is ready to give Candy some advice. If he wants to live, he must do whatever he is told. At that moment, John burst into this building like a true Iron Man. No one expected this guy to attack so fast, but he was able to beat everyone again. He asked everyone to stay calm and obey his orders, then none of them would get hurt. John is interested in the leader of this organization. He is ready to destroy Candy. This man is already experienced enough. He will not be intimidated by any cheap tricks, so he is not going to give up without a fight. He said that he did not respect this newbie, whose milk had not yet dried on his lips, and after that, a fight began. Let's go back to the conversation between Shaitan and John in the fast food restaurant. With the help of hypnosis, John learned about the Oath of the Awakened One with the Saint. Now he understood the reason for the appearance of the devil in front of him. Now John has learned all his secrets and is ready to play by his own rules. John ordered Shaitan to take him to the Triad house, refused to cooperate with Candy and Carol, and join him. Shaitan considers all this to be a ridiculous delusion. Even if he lost this battle, the team is not going to do everything John wants. In this way, he will become not only an enemy of the Triad, but also an enemy of the Saint, so the sword of the devil will tear him into small pieces. John assured that if he did not receive help from Shaitan, he would kill him with his own hands. If Shaitan helps him during the competition of the Asian tournament, then he will get a second chance, after apologizing to the victims of the terrorist attack. Only with such a schedule of events, John is ready to save him from the Saint and the bandits of the Triad. Shaitan is not sure that this little guy can defeat the national level of power and the occult cartel, because they are real monsters. In any case, John assured him of his strength, and now the devil sees with his own eyes what this hunter is capable of. He watches with a smile on his face as he realizes that John has also made some serious progress during this time. He not only became stronger, but also turned into a real monster. Interesting events also take place in the Triad's hiding place, which is located somewhere deep in the abyss. Lots of corpses and blood all around. Looks like today is a rainy day for the Triad all over the world. They were visited by the leader of the Chinese team, Shishin. Today he is in a bad mood again. He came to talk to one of the main members of this Triad. This man's name is Tetsu. He wants to give Shishin a special item, even though he is currently abroad, due to the danger of kidnapping. This is a legendary rank item that their Triad recently bought at auction. They are willing to give this item to the Shishins, but first he must destroy the mosquito that is bothering them so much. Shishin was immediately interested. If even the Triad is afraid of this character, then it is clearly an interesting object. He wanted to hear the name of this man or woman, but at that moment their conversation was interrupted. First, someone started knocking on the door, and then kicked the door out. It turned out that John visited them. He did not come alone. The devil is fighting next to him, on his side, and this is incredibly unexpected. If everything turned out in this way, then John should definitely win this battle. Of course, it will not be easy for them to do this, because a real monster is fighting against them. But if these two join forces, they can even turn the world upside down. All around could only watch how these masters of martial arts fight. John knew all this time that China's national power level might be involved. although of course it must be admitted that he did not expect that Shishin would personally deal with this. Now this thief has understood who the Triad is afraid of. He is ready to destroy John right here and right now. Now it is obvious that it was Shishin who destroyed many hunters from different countries. Now he is ready to take up the cause of the new Korea and kill their leader. John does not agree with this plan. He is sure that he will stop China right now. He will be the last participant from Korea whom Shai Shin will meet in his life. The battle of these two has been started. They really deserve special attention. The other members of the Triad must not relax because Shaitan has been watching them all this time. He noticed that they were afraid that the Shishin might lose this battle, and when that happened, they would face disaster. Shishin is called the god of great strength. He has the most powerful strength among the hunters from the countries participating in the Asian tournament. The number of monsters and hunters he defeated with his bare hands is much more than 100. The moniker God of Great Power implies not only incredible power, because his real skill is the ghost technique of incredible power. You could call it the side of death, and if he uses this technique, few people manage to survive. Side of Death is a weapon materialization skill that greatly boosts the wielder's stats. Instead, with this technique, all other skills begin to be lowered by 1 rank. This technique can be called something incredible. It can even stop the Predator's technique. John must make maximum efforts in order to find the key to victory in this battle. So far, it is difficult for him to attack because he spends all his time defending against the opponent's attacks. John decided to try to chain the Shishin and restrict his movements. For a while, it can work, if of course everything is done quickly and technically. Although John tried to turn his initiative into a real threat to the opponent, he still has little success. Shishin easily broke the chains and prepared for a new attack. Soon, everything seemed to stop, as if the battle was finally over. John is indeed a very talented guy, but he is no match for a true martial arts genius as a Shishin. Tetsu was sure that they won. He ordered his assistants not to kill the devil. The Japanese side may continue to use him as a hostage, so he may be useful. Tetsu does not understand why the devil betrayed them. Maybe John used some kind of hypnosis. In any case, the devil made a big mistake. It remains only to wait for the Shishin to finish cleaning. Probably Tetsu is jumping to conclusions too early. Don't underestimate this guy from New Korea. When he activates all his potential, even the strongest enemies will lose. Shishin tried to finish off the boy, but at that moment, additional mana began to flow from his swords. The initiative was on his side. He saw how John's swords broke under his onslaught. These swords are only rare rank weapons, nothing special about them. During the fight with the Minotaur Queen, John used a similar technique. If the Predator's power is restrained too much, then the weapon cannot withstand the damage and will begin to break down. It means that if he succeeds in completely mastering the power of the Predator, he will conquer a completely new level of possibilities. This is roughly what happened during the battle between him and the Chinese leader. John took a step forward in his progress and officially reached the national level of strength. Let's move to the real world, to a tall building. Here rests another hunter from the Chinese side, who is also called Flash. Brian knows that the Shishin went to the Triad, which means that the matter will be done. Next to him is a member of the Triad, Pinky. She is also sure that Shishin will not lose to a young guy from Korea. At that moment, Flash's phone rang, although he wasn't expecting a night call. He got a call from the legendary Rong. He knows that now Brian is spending time with an occultist from the Triad. Rong is a representative of the Chinese Hunter Association, a very respectable person. He said that the Shishin is already dead. He actually died in the battle against John in the depths of the abyss. This means only one thing. Rong wants Flush to personally bring him the head of John from New Korea. With the help of the Predator skill, John took all the strength from the body of the Shishin. If you absorb the strengths of a dead warrior, then John will not gain skills, but the characteristics will still grow. He does not particularly like that he absorbed a person who died, but there is no point in worrying about criminals either. John is more interested in the voice that can be heard when using the Predator skill. As a result, he only has to use this technique to the maximum in order to discover new secrets of this talent. Shishin was the biggest obstacle, so after his death, everything went easily, especially with the Triad. Tetsu and the other occultists had their memories of the Predator erased through full hypnosis. These occultists were transferred to the association. There were no tasks for the devil, so he must return to the saint. Of course, he didn't want to do that, but John assured her that there was no need to worry because she was only interested in him, not the devil. The condition of the Awakened One's oath is that the Shaitan must bring a John to her, globally. This is exactly what will happen in the future. The main problem is the other members of the Triad. With the help of hypnosis, John learned their location, but it will still not be easy to find them. To begin with, you need to devote some time to rest and think carefully about the next steps. Soon the third day of the Asian-friendly tournament began, and everyone around learned that Shishin had disappeared into the abyss. It was also reported in the news that the hunter John caught the members of the Triad. It is already clear that the Wrong knows about the death of Shishin, but so that others do not learn about his evil deeds, there will not be much talk about this event. John decided to focus on the triad. Just at that moment, he got another call from Kenneth. Soon they met in person. Maybe this conversation will turn out to be much more interesting than the last one. Kenneth said that he asked John to come here because there is an important person from the occult here. He means Pinky, the same girl who was with Flash. Kenneth is not going to tell about the source of the information, but he is sure that they will be able to catch the foams. John had already seen this building when he was watching Tetsu's flashbacks, so it really does make sense. The only thing he can't understand is why Kenneth decided to tell him this information. Kenneth explained what was being done to confirm that he was not a spy at all and that he could be trusted. It looks quite strange, because John has long known that Kenneth is the same spy. In fact, shortly before these two met each other, John had been talking to Mary. She confirmed that there really is a spy in his team. He guessed that it was Kenneth. John believed that this spy was working for Japan, but it turned out that he was a member of the Chinese team. There is information that several years ago he visited a casino in China. These were negotiations regarding his debts to the casino. Somehow Kimura was able to find John, so there is another spy working for Japan. It turns out that there are only spies around John. It is not clear what the people in the association are doing, because they did not find anyone. John asked not to talk about these spies of the association. He has reasons for this decision. Because of this, it will become known about the espionage immediately, and he will be immediately arrested. This will mean that the spy who works for Japan will immediately go into hiding. Now, when it is clear that Kenneth is one of the spies, John, on the contrary, can use them. Kenneth said that there could be many traps in this building, but he learned information about the exact location of the foam. Of course, this is all a delusion. This guy is sure that today John will finally die. He was ordered to bring this guy to this building, where a Chinese national-level Brian would be waiting for him to kill him. Things didn't go according to plan. John immediately activated his predator skill and started attacking the building. He destroyed everything he saw in his path. This is the perfect way out of this difficult situation. Kenneth couldn't believe what was happening. He started yelling at the guy and accusing him of being selfish instead of working as a team. John explained that he was doing this to avoid traps. There was no point in going inside if you could destroy the whole building. Soon they saw foam under the rubble, so the target was found. This woman immediately started screaming, suddenly calling him a game addict. She thinks he cheated on them. This ugly rat pretended not to understand what she was talking about, although he understood everything perfectly. He said that he knew from the very beginning that Kenneth was working for the Chinese side. Of course, these words immediately provoked a conflict. A fight was almost impossible to avoid. After a few seconds, he suddenly experienced incredible pain and very quickly began to die. The most interesting thing in this situation is that John did nothing. His internal system reported that he was exposed to the world without feelings. There is some success in resisting this mysterious force, although all cognitive abilities are impaired. Only a little later, John remembered that the world without feelings is the main technique of Brian. So the meeting with the legendary Chinese warrior called Flash finally took place. But he did not expect that John would destroy the entire building. But he was interested in who exactly defeated the legendary Shishin. Now they finally met. John replied that he was really a real psycho, and he was interested in the skill of the world without feelings. Let's move to another place. St. Carol finally met the devil. She looked at his memories and was surprised that John turned out to be much stronger than she expected. She asked Shaitan not to be afraid. She is not interested in his life because all her thoughts are related to John. If John wants to destroy the triad so badly, she should come out of the shadows and meet him in person. That before the start of the Asian-friendly tournament, Rong gathered all the best warriors and said that they must complete 3 tasks. First, to win the Asian tournament, and secondly, to weaken the power of other associations by eliminating key participants. And finally, they have to show that the Chinese Hunting Association is the best in Asia. To this end, they can destroy and kill anyone they want without thinking about the consequences at all. Everyone around was satisfied with this strategy. Only Flash thought that they all lost their minds, although he didn't care what to do. In order to protect his relationship with the foam, he also killed many people who stood in his way, so he can also be called obsessive. This time, John crossed the path of 2 strong people, so he must die immediately. It will be difficult to do, because with each new victory, John becomes stronger. The technique of the world without feelings does not work on this guy. Now it is obvious that he has reached the national level of strength. John wants to take the skill of the world without feelings. He learned to use the predator better, and now no one will stand in his way. He is sure that he will find an ideal application for this technique. All that remains is to take it into his hands. This process was much easier and simpler than during the Shishin battle. That's what real progress means. China was left without 2 hunters of the national level of strength. Now there is only 1 hunter of this level in the game from the Chinese side. New Korea is in the first place in the ranking. It has a very large margin from the pursuers. John has destroyed almost all his competitors, but he is still worried about Japan because this country behaves too quietly. As soon as he thought about it, he immediately saw that a rotorcraft appeared near him. This means only one thing. St. Carol came to meet him personally. Here they finally met. This meeting was inevitable from the very beginning. St. Carol knows how to heal with the help of an incredible technique. She can even return a warrior's lost arm. This incredible power makes her a saint, a hunter of the national level of Japan. The actual effect of her power was a mental component that brainwashed people through memory manipulation. Carol uses this skill to turn even her friends into believers who worship her, and now it's John's turn. He didn't tell Shaitan his exact location, but she found him anyway. She didn't care about the Asian-friendly tournament. Her main target is John, and it gives him goosebumps. Carol plays a big role as a saint. It is she who gives everyone the strength to keep fighting in this terrible world. She empowers others to bow down and serve her, if that doesn't sound strange. He listened silently and tried to understand her motives, but there is no logic here. She has lost her mind. At that moment, many cars drove up to them. At first, it seemed that they were ordinary people. But then John took a closer look and realized that these people had lost their minds because of the saint's skills. She found out that there are skills and information that John is hiding. If he really didn't want to hide it, but she would find out about it anyway and take advantage of it. This woman is using ordinary people as a shield. It's a mean tactic, but that's the reality. The warriors of the Guild of Night Vagabonds did not rest and were engaged in the assignment of their leader. One of them ordered his assistant to call the mayor and tell her that they had found the hiding place of the Shadow, the last important character from the Triad. It seemed that the matter was done, but at that moment one of them lost his head, in the literal sense. This means that the occultists have learned about all the intentions of their enemies, which means that the Night Wanderers have big problems. We will remind that this man's name is Shadow. He is the deputy boss of the Dark Guild and one of the main members of the Triad. There are already many rumors about his brutality, and even they do not show his qualities 100%. He is unhappy that he was able to be found by ordinary workers of the guild. From the moment John appeared on the scene, their affairs went in the wrong direction. No one could think that an ordinary novice would defeat serious rivals. He should not be underestimated. In any case, John is not the only genius in this world, because the Shadow reached the maximum of his talent already 10 years ago. Meanwhile, it was not very easy for John, because he was attacked by a huge number of obsessed citizens. Carol is sure that he will not be able to kill ordinary people, even if they are all under a spell. She must have underestimated this guy too much, because if he is insulted, he will never turn a blind eye to it. After John was freed from the onslaught of people, it was time to talk to the saint. She needs to be taught good manners for a long time. You can say that this is a lesson in ethics from a real gentleman. The holiday could hardly have expected that the hero of East Point would turn out to be so strong. Even when attacking citizens, he dealt very weak blows, and no one even died from them. All this turned out to be just a joke on his part, but it is unlikely that Carol will give up so easily. At the last moment, when it seemed that everything was over for her, a large tree appeared in her place. John managed to save people. He did not understand how she could try to kill the one she controlled. It turned out that the violence that happened earlier was just an illusion, a real masterpiece. Carol is ready to play a dirty game. She's going to bend the rules, and she's not going to give in to anyone. Those people who just a few seconds ago seemed dead now came to life like real zombies. If John does not want to kill all these people, then he must accept her salvation and bow before the saint. This crazy woman doesn't care what method she uses to achieve the result, and it's terrible. He really cannot forgive her for this, so he must use everything he can. His recent mastery of a world without feelings is perfect for this moment. Carol immediately felt a decrease in her cognitive abilities and problems with the flow of magical power. She did not understand what was happening. Only a little later she began to guess that John also knows how to manipulate consciousness. After he grabbed the people around in chains and it was time to punish this crazy woman. This process did not last very long, and all this had to be done in order for her to understand that this is not the way to behave. The world must understand that people who are ready for such acts cannot be called saints. It should not be forgotten that her regeneration is at an incredible level, so in just a few minutes this woman is in almost perfect condition. John showed her the best of his abilities, and now she is ready for the second round. She was planning to brainwash him, and if you want, you can try to do it right now. Holy fasting is a technique that controls the memory and mind of another person. In other words, the Carol can see his spiritual world. She will see his dreams and lost memories, the reason why Rosaria changed her attitude towards him after what she saw. In his mind there is some secret related to the predator, and this will give Carol the opportunity to find answers to all these questions. She is ready to accept the rules of the game and admit defeat, but also wants something in return. If John really wants her to activate the skills, he should finally believe in her. She does not know what he is up to, but after using the holy fast, all his ideas will be destroyed. She will take all his power. The technique was activated, and Carol finally came to his consciousness. Everything around was in a sea of blood. An unknown guy was sitting on the mountain. Probably this is John, who is inside himself, his ego. Carol understood that it was not John at all when she heard that this creature was not going to tell its secrets. This guy said he wasn't going to talk to a nobody like Carol and expected something much better from John. His subconscious completely absorbed this girl. She regretted 1,000,000 times that she plunged into this nasty world of blood. After that, John opened his eyes. He got the impression that it was all just a dream. He found himself in the hospital room again. Everything was the same as in the past. The story repeats itself again. His door opened, and Mary entered. She had been waiting for him to wake up for a long time. She said that I was worried about his health. Even yesterday, the members of his family did not leave him. He had not shown any signs of life for more than a day, but now he is interested in the outcome of the meeting with Carol. Mary reported that they were both found unconscious. The same was the case with Foam and Kinet. They were saved, although they were on the verge of death. Only Brian disappeared, and no one could find his exact location. Everyone wants to understand what happened to us, but even John cannot explain it. Even someone with a national-level rank couldn't come close to the Predator's secret. It is not known what this guy keeps in his mind, but it really looks like some kind of demonic curse. Mary asked him to think about his health and recover to continue his participation in the Asian-friendly tournament. At that moment, Charles entered the room. He was also worried about John and his health. He said that now they need immediate help from the night vagabonds. They need to send a search party into the abyss. It turned out that the new Korea team, including the pack, disappeared into the abyss, and this is really shocking news. John said he would go there alone, because if a search party was created, it would lead to even more casualties. All of them disappeared into the depths of the abyss, although they are real professionals with great experience. After analyzing the circumstances, you can understand that this is an unusual attack by monsters, but rather the intervention of a creature of a national level of power. That is why John wants to go alone, although under such conditions, Charles cannot let him go. At that moment, the door of the room opened and John's relatives came inside. They also cannot believe that he, after being admitted to the hospital, immediately wants to risk his own life. His strength has not yet recovered. Even yesterday, they believed that he would never open his eyes, so he needs to change his approach to life. Strangely, in the moments when he was not yet awakened, he was surrounded by those who insulted him and did not worry about his health. Wherever he went and whatever he encountered, he only heard mockery and insults in response. Now everything has changed, and it is difficult for him to immediately get used to the new reality. He thanked his loved ones for their concern, but assured them that he must go into the abyss. Although they recently became a team, they are his comrades, and he is the only one who can save them. He was raised as a person who should not leave his friends, so the family should understand his decision. Mary supported him. If he really did make such a decision, then he should return home safe and sound. So now we move to the abyss, where, as always, very intense events take place. Professional hunters from New Korea have real problems. It would be better for these guys to sit at home and watch the TV series The Office. Their opponents did not expect that they would be so strong. Now it is clear why Korea is leading in the competition. It is obvious that their main enemy was a Chinese hunter called a Bloody Sword. His name is a bard. The games of hide and seek are over. He is ready to send these players to hell right now. He is ready to give them a chance at life if they become his slaves. That is, they must betray their country and comrades. Of course, such legendary warriors as Pak will refuse such an offer. Pride turned out to be more expensive than one's own life. It is courageous, but not very smart. It turned out that not all members of the New Korea agreed with this answer. Stephen raised his hand and said that he agreed to the bard's terms. He understands that the only way to survive now is to betray his country. At a glance, it is clear that the bard is a real monster, so there is no other way to stay alive. Moreover, he already had to do it earlier when he met the saint. Right now, you are clear who was a spy on the side of Japan. This puzzle is completely in unison. So he's betrayed his country before, and he's ready to do it again right now. Puck hugged his friend and realized that he was scared, so he asked Stephen not to worry. So he promised to risk his life and buy some time for his friends so that they could escape. Sandra believes that only cowards can run away. She is also ready for the last battle. It was hard for Stephen to watch his friends risk their lives for him. He started crying and said he would fight too. Thus, all these three prepared for the last minutes of their lives. The bard understood that these fools made a bad choice. Then there was no point in playing with them anymore. It was time to show them the difference in strength. Rong ordered to avenge the other Chinese masters and make things clear, and that was how the bard would work. The players of the New Korea expected that it would not be easy for them, but they did not know that they would have to fight with real hellish evil. It turned out that until this moment the bard had shown mercy, and only now he is ready for a real battle. It seemed that everything was over. These hunters were waiting for a cruel death, far from their home. However, there is no need to rush to conclusions. The internal system informed the bard that he was under the influence of the world without feelings. It can only mean one thing. John has arrived and all of Korea's enemies are in serious trouble. Bard is familiar with the world without feelings. His friend Flash knows how to use this technique, but this friend is already dead. So there is no other option but to accept the battle with the guy who killed the Flash. The bard was happy to see him in person. Revenge is the sweetest dish one can dream of. There really is a hell of animosity between these two, although each of them has their own motives.